All right. Well, hello there, everyone. We are back and live in 2024. Happy New Year to all of our wonderful viewers and listeners. Welcome back to the Xbox Roundtable Podcast, your place for Xbox talk and more from across the gaming sphere. Naturally, I'm your host, Invader, the structural voice of the show, and I'm really excited to kickstart this new year after taking a few weeks off for the obvious. Lots of holiday parties, Christmas, New Year's, all kinds of get-togethers, and just a little bit of R&R, right? A little bit of rest and relaxation. But we are back in action. And what are we going to cover tonight? Well, quite a few things, actually. First, we need to get caught up on some things. We need to go over the Insomniac hack that happened just before we entered the holidays. Lots of interesting info dumps coming out of that, plus omissions from, I would say the gaming media, but again, we'll dive into that. Also, rumors swirling of a new Xbox Direct later this month, Developer Direct. We'll touch on that, and even more rumors kind of circling here regarding a sizable Xbox game possibly being brought over to competing platforms. Very interesting indeed. But first, let me introduce the talented crew tonight, starting off with Centurion. Hey, Cent. Hey, how you been?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Pretty much like we were talking about. Took a lot of time off for the month of December for reasons, but was able to get a lot of gaming put in. Beat the crew, beat Outriders. Spent a lot of time in Elder Scrolls Online. Buddy of mine, a very close friend of mine, you've met him. He bought me Baldur's Gate 3, so I've been trying to play around with that to see what all the hype is and try my luck at a game of that style. But it's been pretty good, man. Just doing a lot of gaming. Oh, Avatar. So yeah, definitely. I mean, there's too many damn games.
I would agree to that. I would agree. Believe me, my backlog grows ever more and more, but slowly working it down, going through RoboCop at the moment, as you can see in the gameplay footage streaming right now. But yeah, lots of good stuff to play. Moving on, Dots RTS. Hey, Dots, how have you been?
I've been good. I've been good. New Year starting off strong. Up in me and Crusaders area of living, we got hit with our big first snowstorm of the
Hmm.
winter.
Yeah.
So we've been dealing with that, and with my new job, I do a lot of driving around. So that was a lot of fun to deal with. But otherwise, no, everything's good with me. I'm hyped for this year. Um, you know, 2023 was a big year for gamers, and I think every year that big year just keeps getting bigger. So here's a 2024 and all the goodness that it brings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, you'd be proud of me. I spent a lot of time, not so much video gaming, but I was putting together a lot of Warhammer models and going through my combat patrol that I had showed, getting done some, I've been putting in a lot of time, got a lot of stuff put together. MLD
I,
saw, so.
I've been building up my backlog. I just grabbed myself Imhotep the Stormlord and Orkin the Diviner, but I still need to.
Mm-hmm.
Still have so much left to paint. I got Illuminator Ceres to paint. I got some Canoptic Wraiths. I got my girlfriend just painted me a Catan Shard of the Nightbringer, so that was really cool of her. So
Ooh.
like, gonna have my first Catan Shard to use up for something. But yeah, my Necron army's building, but I got a backlog I gotta get through.
Mm-hmm. I feel you, man. I feel you. Next up, Eric Shockley. Shockley, Happy New Year, pal. What have you been up to the past couple of weeks?
Not much. Just been jumping back into Persona 4 Golden. Noticed it was also gonna leave here in a week or two now, so was trying to see how far I could get before it left. I'll probably just end up buying it. I already own it on I think PS or on my Vita anyway, but
Mm-hmm.
and I've already played a ton of hours there, but just trying to see how far I get on the Xbox. But yeah, not much else. Went to went to a football game yesterday. That was fun. My team lost and could have won the division if they won, but yeah, that was my. But over the holiday, just trying to get back into doing some retro gaming and getting some setup stuff there. But yeah, as far as games on Xbox right now, Persona 4 Golden, definitely give it a shot before it leaves Game Pass. I was passing on the. I wanted to get into because I never played 3, because 3's on there. But people are telling me just wait for the actual remaster that's coming out, or the remake, I guess, that's coming out here, I think, next month. Day 1 in Game Pass, so I'll probably just wait for that before I touch that one. Since a lot of people, or at least a lot of fans of the third one, aren't too high on the that PS Portable version that they do in Game Pass. So, but yeah, definitely give Golden a shot. That game, and the soundtrack will hit you just in the first few seconds. So yeah, definitely give that a shot before it leaves Game Pass. See if you like it before get that discount before it leaves. So.
Indeed. Yeah, guys, definitely get on that while you can. Try it out. All right, moving on. We got Crusader. Hey, digging yourself out of that snowstorm?
Yeah, I didn't lose power like Dots did.
I lost power twice.
But yeah, it was it was a pretty good snowstorm. It's been a while since I've been on, because I missed the last show before the end of the year. So like I've got a lot of stuff played. I played all of the I didn't play Arkham Origins, but I played all 3 of the other Arkham games. And I've been playing a bunch of multiplayer games. So I played I've been playing Battlefield 2042, and I've been playing the finals.
Yeah.
Both of which I like a lot. I liked Battlefield 2042 at launch. It's just that, like, I had horrible performance issues, but, like, most of those seem to finally be gone.
Well, they finally got it right then after, well, what, that came out, oh yeah, around Halo Infinite. So
that came out, yeah, because it was supposed to be, there was the first year ever that a Halo, a Battlefield, wait, did it come out this?
Came out
Was
the
it
same.
a launch title?
It wasn't launch, but it was, what, 2021?
Okay, so it did come out 2021, okay.
Yeah.
Because I remember it was like the first year ever that a Halo, Battlefield, and Call of Duty launched, but I couldn't remember if that actually happened or if that was supposed to happen and the delay happened.
Yeah, they came out, I remember, because we're talking about it on the show. I think they were like 2 weeks apart, something like that. Yeah, I mean, I remember Battlefield at launch. That was not a pretty sight. That was not good. All right, moving on down. We got the General in the house. General MLD, how you been?
Hey, doing pretty good. Ended the new year on a good note with gaming. Warhammer Boltshot, played like the original Doom, but Warhammer and better in many ways. And then also beat RoboCop. That game was just that was just a nostalgic trip. I mean, both games are nostalgic in their own ways. So that was, yeah, you recommended that to me, actually. I'm glad I bought that. I'd like to support developers that, really respect the source material, and which they did with flying colors. And, yeah, now I picked up a couple of games this year now. Redout, it's like an F-Zero indie game style kind of game. So I'm really liking that. But also I'm playing Everspace 2 on Game Pass. Nice sci-fi ship-based game. So yeah, that's me so far. Looking forward to tonight's chat.
Oh yes. Moving on, rounding out the crew, we got Grimes. Hey Grimes, how have you been?
Yeah, what's going on? Happy New Year to all. Good to be back. I'm doing pretty well. Spent pretty much all the holiday going out clubbing. In fact, I went out clubbing this Friday and didn't come back home until 7 a.m. So my body is still in recovery mode. But I did play some games during the holidays. I bought Alan Wake 2, which for anyone that didn't know, it was on sale on the Epic Store for like $28.
It still is for 3 more days.
Well, if you haven't played it, go and buy it because it's such a great game. I still haven't finished it, but yeah, it's a truly great game. I'm playing it on all high settings with full-on ray tracing, and I love it. It's been such a great experience. It's sad that it didn't sell that many copies. It truly is, but hopefully Remedy aren't hit financially that hard financially and continue to make their style of games. It's wild to me that a game like Control sold much better than Alan Wake. And actually, I
Also on
found
PC or on not PC on Steam. Like
yeah, but it's to me personally, Control it's boring. Well, but yeah, you're right. Steam. We've discussed this off air, the Steam versus Epic thing, but it's a great game. So if you are not against the Epic Store, go buy it there or on Xbox, whatever your platform is, go and buy it because it's a great game. The only other game I got to play during the holidays was the Crash trilogy. I bought that game when it first came out, but I always kept getting sidetracked and moved on to other games. But I finally went back to it and close to finishing it.
Nice. Hey, I mean, hey, it's great to clear some of those titles off your backlog, right? So, even if you didn't get to all of it, I mean, it's nice to finally be able to like play it. Oh, finally got this one off my back. Because sometimes I just feel so bad.
Oh no, 100%.
The mound of shame, even if it's only digital, I still call it the mound of shame. But yeah, guys, I don't want to waste a lot of time because we do have a lot to dig into here, surprisingly. But however, a quick reminder to all of our listeners to just like this show and share it out across all kinds of social media. It really does help us with those pesky algorithms, especially on YouTube. Like, again, every little bit helps from you guys. Really appreciate it. And hey, we got some awesome people in the chat already, so we want more really awesome people here with us. But okay, guys, let's move into right into the news with our first topic. And with this one, we're playing a bit of catch-up, to say the least. Before the holidays kicked off, Insomniac Games had a data breach with hackers getting a hold of a lot of different information, dumping it out into the wilds of the internet. Insomniac's Wolverine game had quite a lot leaked out, plus what is seemingly their, I want to say, timeline for basically the next decade or so. There's even internal emails and slides showing off games and budget information from just Sony details in general. So yeah, I mean, a bit of a doozy at least for Insomniac and Sony. Now, Crusader, there's obviously a lot to say regarding this breach, with now some time to digest things, which is kind of nice in a lot of ways. What are your thoughts on, all these leaks?
I'm kind of sad that one of my favorite studios is now, like, a Marvel outsourcing studio, but what are you gonna do? Because there was a lot of Marvel in that roadmap.
Yeah, there was.
Like, we know that the Wolverine deal is actually a trilogy deal for X-Men in particular. I don't want to talk anything about the actual gameplay stuff from Wolverine.
Right.
If that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're not, we're just talking about just the general.
I'm gonna talk more the like data stuff overall.
Mm-hmm.
But there was supposedly a spin-off Venom game coming in. It should be noted that the roadmap of games that we have is from approximately 2 months ago.
So that's
or
still
I guess
pretty,
3 months now.
That's pretty recent.
Yes,
though.
no. That's very recent. That's the whole point. Because there is other data in this that was not recent, like early on. Because like a lot of us were trying to disseminate and figure out like time frames and stuff. Because like I had like all the docs loaded on my computer. I was looking at the documents. I didn't download any of the gameplay or anything like that because I figured I'd see it anyways. But I did take a look at some of the PowerPoints and stuff like that. And there was a thing about like Ratchet and Clank not making money, which turned out to be absolutely false. It was a prediction when it launched. They expected it to launch at a deficit, and it didn't. It actually launched quite in the positive. But yeah, we got financials for like every PlayStation game released since in the PS4, PS5 generation, and every Insomniac game ever released. But yeah, there was a lot of good stuff, like a Venom game supposedly that's going to be in between Spider-Man and Wolverine in the list of games to come out. Wolverine doesn't look like it's coming out until Q3 of 2025 currently. I'll be interested to see if it actually even hits that, because they're going to have to retool quite a bit of it at this point.
Yeah.
There is another Ratchet and Clank game. Thank God.
Yeah, well, I mean,
There was
A little ways away,
data.
though.
It is a ways away, but like, listen, I had to wait a generation for a brand new one, so like, it is what it is. Like, there wasn't
Cries
a
and
new
Jack
Ratchet and Clank.
Daxter.
Yeah, there wasn't a new Ratchet and Clank game during the PlayStation 4 generation at all. There was a remake of the first one that was like changing the story and everything like that, and it wasn't that great. But we got some interesting information about the PC ports. Basically, if your PC port of a game costs less than, I think it was $30 million for the port, it's just instantly greenlit. So that's really interesting. That basically, if there are games that they can very cheaply port to PC, they're going to. That's at Sony Interactive in general. Let's see, what were some of my other notes? Bloodborne, it was shocking because Sony keeps reporting in their investors report that Bloodborne has only sold 3.5 million copies, but the internal documents have it at 7. So that was really interesting. There was just a slide about how basically they need to pick up the slack, like all the studios need to pick up the slack due to the Activision Blizzard deal closing, and that they are concerned about now this slide was from before the 10-year deal was signed, because it was the wording in it was a 3-year deal, so it is an older slide, but it was a concern over the live service offerings that Sony is offering, and in the wake of an Xbox-owned Call of Duty. And then there was a really interesting note that was actually personal notes from Ted Price, the owner of the or the CEO, I should say, that had some information about layoffs that even Insomniac, who is basically the most productive studio at PlayStation right now, is facing layoffs, and how they were going to handle it. How they can't just like canceling projects would actually be like detrimental. So they're looking at like laying off some people who are working on Wolverine and shifting people around from their other projects that are further out to put them on Wolverine. And it's talk of another studio closure. Now those notes look like they're from like October or November, so that would not include Pixel Opus, which PlayStation closed this year.
I think Sony London might be next.
Yeah.
Those are the SingStar guys, right?
Well, we don't really know. They're supposedly working on a live service game. I'm fairly certain, and I believe they're also working on a VR title.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not really. It could even be because we don't have context. It legitimately could be a studio location that's being described, and not a studio. My guess would be Sony San Mateo, which is literally a support studio in San Mateo, and the cost of living in San Mateo and therefore the salaries they have to pay are insane. if it is an like overall studio. So that it was just a very it's definitely one of the largest hacks of all time. I don't know if it's larger than the Valve hack from the early 2000s. It is less. There was a ton of individuals impacted, like a ton of employee data,
Right.
and a ton of asset leaks. Capcom back in 2021 had a similar ransomware attack that revealed less of their plans. I mean, it revealed a lot of their plans, but like it revealed like less game data, but it revealed a lot of consumer data, even not even just employee data. So I'm interested to see, because we'll kind of keep seeing things disseminate out of this, because like there was a playable build of Wolverine.
You hear what happened to the people that downloaded it?
Yeah, if you downloaded it without a VPN like an idiot, you got DMCA'd by Verizon or Comcast or whatever your ISP is.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
If you
got
are
a
downloading
DCMA, yeah.
copywritten content that you do not own, you should be using a VPN. So like anyone who did that is silly Billy. That's why I grabbed re-uploads of all of the like PowerPoints and everything, so that I couldn't be traced to a single download that traced back to their server, because they fed it off of the initial torrents were seeded from Insomniac servers until they got the leak under control, but by that point it was too late and it was already reseeded elsewhere. Yeah, no, the people that got their internet locked because they used their own internet connection to do this are silly billies. Don't do that. Don't pirate the content. Don't go out and download the content unless you're like downloading the PowerPoints and stuff, which is like all corporate information. If you do not go out and download the game files, it is not just wait. You can view uploaded videos of everything online anyways.
Mm-hmm.
It is literally not worth you getting a criminal suit for piracy against you.
Yeah, it's definitely
Like-
not worth it, guys.
All to play an alpha build of a game that's going to probably look and play nothing like the finished product.
Yeah, if like, you know, it wasn't just the game that leaked. By the way, their entire engine was in there, and the full software development kits for the PS4 and PS5 were in there, which
Yeah.
those are like semi-public, but you have to sign like an NDA to get access to them as a development studio. Like any development studio that develops games for the PlayStation, like has those software development kits, but like fully leaked out to the public. It was a very, 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 very bad day for Insomniac. Like, that's like worst case scenario for a tech company. And I've seen a lot of people saying like, hey, why aren't they like, why are these people going after game companies? Why aren't they going after like CEOs of like big business and like politicians? And I'm like, bruh. Number one, you go after politicians. That's like an espionage charge. Number two, the tech companies, every user has like multiple devices. It is simply easy to get in, and they are the most likely to pay because they're in the tech industry. Fun fact: do you ever get hit with a ransomware attack? Do not pay. You most likely will not get a key to unlock your stuff anyways. Do not pay the ransom. This is why if you run a business, you should have backups taken multiple times a week, if not every day. Because if you get hit, you just restore everything from a backup and take everything, you de-network everything until you can patch the security hole that they got in with. From like a
You know-
tech perspective, I'm really interested to see how. I'm pretty sure it's said that they got in via the VPN, which makes sense. They likely got a token off of someone's phone and were able to break in through the VPN, then establish themselves on a server, and then they just staged documents. Once they were in the network, any computer that they could access, they just started ripping all the files from specific name directories like documents and things like that, downloads.
Yeah, again, it was pretty wild how they got a hold of all that information.
Many terabytes of data.
Man, they damn, yeah, that was quite the heist, And by the way, guys, I'm not praising them, but I mean, obviously this stuff did leak. I'm just saying.
They're not a good organization either. Like these people like hold hospitals for ransom.
Yeah, no, that's why. Again, guys, I'm not like we are not praising these guys by any means. It's just the information. Like again, the headlines were out there. The information was out. We're just talking about the stuff, so why not, right? We're not going to go into like really big details, anyways. Like concerning some things, anyways. Again, I want to get some other panel members' thoughts. Shockley, but I'll hit you up, and then I'll go over to Centurion. Shockley, I mean, obviously Crusader laid it all out there. Pretty big leak here from into Insomniac servers, into again all their data. And again, this obviously affects Sony in a big way as well. I don't know, what do you think about all this?
Yeah, it was pretty surprising, like just seeing them out, and just usually when you see like a hit happen, maybe they'll just find out some information, but like not the amount, like people actually playing builds of a game. So that was pretty shocking. I guess the only, I wouldn't say good thing to come from it, but it's also a way for Insomniac to get some critiques on their game. So at least when the Wolverine thing started to come out, and then people were kind of like, why is Wolverine having health packs? Like, that's one of his abilities, healing. He shouldn't need a health pack. Or, I hope I know some people I think criticize some of the. At least that's where you could actually get some good of it. Like, hey, it's so far out, but hey, there was a little bit of criticism of this part of the game. They can kind of get some of that early feel, and like kind of change those up. But yeah, otherwise it kind of sucks that their whole like basically there's not going to be too many surprises probably from Insomniac for quite a while. I guess other than the ones that say like unannounced game, or I think one of them said like Marvel game, or like maybe it wasn't like announced like what it was yet.
They're both X-Men. The Marvel stuff is both X-Men.
But otherwise, that's it. I mean, it's crazy that they got hacked to that degree, but yeah, hopefully they got that locked down, because unfortunately that sometimes sucks for fans, because sometimes it's cool to know, but then it's kind of like when Xbox had. I think they had one. I think they had multiple E3s where like right before everything was announced.
Yeah.
But when stuff like that gets leaked, and then people see like, well, they didn't have any surprises because we already knew about that. When technically, like, it was new stuff. It's just that once the surprise is ruined, it kind of like those. That's what like E3. That's kind of like when, or not what the traditional E3 was, but now it's obviously like more directs from most of the big three. But that alone, just the announcements for some stuff that are surprising, kind of can get your fan base, even more hype just from them, like their reaction or not seeing something coming. Kind of like when I think there were maybe rumors about, like, say, Blade, but I think most of us weren't really up on any of that. So when we saw that, that was pretty awesome. Or
I actually saw
like when you had
the trailer before it.
Oh, okay.
Before it
or
showed,
like when you see,
but I'm me, I'm in the circles.
yeah,
that see that kind of stuff.
Like when you see, you hear, Looney's or Five on it and you instantly knows like, oh wait, is Jordan Peele about to come out this door for the Kojima project? Obviously we don't know what that is, but still stuff like that can get you hype. Whereas like if you just read it on a piece of paper or some type of screenshot of something, it's not going to hit you the same. So when you see like, oh yeah, I was already expecting that. So some of that stuff kind of sucks. But I mean, I guess same token, it's cool that if they're doing a whole on X-Men or X-Men game, that would be pretty sick. Hopefully it's not just like the just traditional. Hopefully they throw some multiple different X-Men in there, maybe some that you're not as used to, like Psylocke. That would be cool, like or just some other X-Men. But so I'm hype about that, like now that you just told me. So but yeah, I mean, it was crazy how it just unfolded all over Twitter, and like people kept digging and finding more stuff like, wait, this is the Wolverine game? Because I was thinking more it would be like and hopefully that was just like a super small alpha sample of what we were seeing, but hopefully it doesn't just feel like a reskin. Hopefully you're not doing, I don't know if I want to play a Wolverine game where I'm doing a lot of sniffing around and finding trails of, I get it sometimes, like, yeah, Wolverine in the comics and stuff like that would, pick up a scent, but you're not, at least from the comics I've read or just some of the stuff I've seen in Wolverine, I don't think you're doing that constantly throughout. Whereas like Spider-Man might be doing a lot of that, like like and actually investigating a lot more. I kind of want my Wolverine to be more like kind of some of the ones we have, but just make an actual top-notch, high-end version of that. I think even though that Wolverine game had some flaws on the PS3, that was probably one of the best versions we've had anytime recently. I think X2 on the PS2 was pretty cool, but had some issues. But I think the closest one, a lot of people, Wolverine fans, definitely highlight the Wolverine Origins game on the PS3 360. So that's kind of the direction I'd want it to go. Just like put more gore where you're just, you can take off people's limbs. I don't know. I think this one's supposed to be mature, so hopefully they just go all out. But yeah, that was the only thing I was iffy about. It was like, I don't know if this looks. Obviously, it's alpha stuff, and that's what part that sucks when stuff like that gets leaked. Because then people start, questioning your. Imagine if that was, say, Blade was coming to them, and then we got an announcement for Xbox, and then this got leaked from Xbox, and people saw that footage. People, just from recent games from Xbox, they would be saying like, "Oh, this is going to be some Game Pass like trash." That they would literally be saying all that stuff. So I could see where this is kind of putting a damper on probably some people's hopes of that games, which sucks for the developers and for the fans, because you're not going to see this game probably even longer now. Now that it got leaked, and they'll probably hold off or do more stuff with it, because inevitably you're going to probably hear criticism, so you're going to go back and try to fix some stuff too. But it was already going to probably be far out anyway, so but it's actually going to keep waiting and maybe not see. Hopefully you see a glimpse of it, relatively soon, of just like some slice of the gameplay, but to kind of like get this some of those videos that were going around kind of out of your memory. So, but yeah, it sucks, but yeah, hopefully they lock that down going forward, because that was not a good look. So,
No, well said, Shockley. Certainly some interesting things from what was shown. But yeah, again, it's still a ways away, like a long ways, I would say. But even the other information too was interesting. All right, going over to Centurion, and then I'll hit up Dots. Cent, I mean, honestly, like, again, this happened a couple of weeks ago, and again, it's still, like, again, I still can't believe that it happened, this big hack, and it was quite a lot of information. Like, honestly, what were your thoughts about it?
Well, my thoughts are all over the place. For starters, this is just the world we live in now. I'm sorry, but hackers and people of that nature, I'm pretty sure there is some out there, but the vast majority of them are not like the guys you see in movies and television where they're out trying to just, take down the man. They're not Robin Hood. They're very predatory. They will definitely go at, the idea is work smarter, not harder. And I mean, they literally, when they like Crusaders said, when they find a little small hole in security somewhere, they will turn it into a very big opportunity for them to benefit in any way necessary. It sucks that, let's just put it this way. I'm not over here clapping my hands like, oh, congratulations. It was a PlayStation studio. Who gives a shit? No, it's not like that at all. But in saying that, I do think it is a little interesting. I'm not trying to go down the tinfoil hat theory here, but if this was an Xbox studio, I'm pretty sure we would have seen numerous sites totally just combing through everything and trying to just make a news article about anything and everything and somehow twist it into negative this, negative that. But of course, it's Insomniac and it's the beloved Spider-Man franchise creator. So therefore, we have to white knight and defend them and be like, oh no, for the first time ever, we don't want to talk about the information, or we want to be very selective on how we do our news articles because we want to be respectful. And it's just like, really? I'm sorry, but I'm gonna call a big giant turd, and that's actually kind of messed up. So let's see you hold that energy if this ever happens to another developer or publisher that doesn't happen to be one of your like fantasy developers that you don't want to ever see them have hard times. We'll just say that.
Yeah, I mean, not to interrupt, but you're absolutely, I mean, like, I felt the same way, and it was just kind of interesting how, again, certain outlets kind of handled things, especially since there have been a lot more recent things that have happened too. I think Capcom had something not too long ago. Obviously, like, again, like, certain things have leaked down, they had no problems covering it. But when
now here's like, I agree with you. Like here, like a big example, the supposed accidental publishment that Xbox had of all the documents that they had during the FTC thing. Technically, those were leaked documents. Yeah, it was information that got put out in the public on a totally different manner. But how many times did we see that freaking all digital Xbox Series X? Like, I mean, like, literally, that thing was photoshopped a million freaking times into so many different ways. I mean, like, we couldn't go anywhere without seeing that damn thing. And that's where I just have to laugh at the situation that, I mean, like, it sucks that it happened to Insomniac, but at the same time, all of a sudden, for the first time ever, you guys feel bad about covering leaks of this nature or hacks, what have you. It's information that we weren't supposed to have, and it's just being covered totally differently than things in the past. We'll at least just call it that. But that being said, somebody mentioned it here, like, like Wolverine having health packs. There's a psychiatrist out there, like YouTube guy, like people pay money to go to like this guy's seminars. And he actually made a point. It's called the Superman syndrome. Take a look at the Superman character when he was first created. When Superman was first put into a comic book, he had no vulnerabilities. He was invincible, literally invincible. And slowly over time, they realized that was killing the character because people found it boring. You can't constantly have somebody come in and save the damn day and take bullets and all this other stuff with no, and basically, oh, Superman's here. It's all good. All right, move on. I mean, so late as the Superman character evolved, they had to create weaknesses for Superman to keep it interesting. I understand how people feel about Wolverine, but me being a film buff, I own like hundreds and hundreds of physical movies here in my home. I'm a big fan for anything narrative driven. And that's where I say, depending on the medium you have, yeah, it's cool to whip open a comic book and see Wolverine just totally kicking ass and tearing things apart, slicing people up. Let's all face it, Wolverine's claws literally should be cutting people's arms and heads off with absolutely no problem whatsoever. In the movies, we've seen him literally take a bullet to the head and get right back up like it didn't even happen. That's all cool, but when we're talking like in a video game setting, yeah, we got to keep it like we are not going to literally put the controller in your hand and say, here is invincible Wolverine. Just go and rock it like you're God. And I don't really, that's why I'm saying they're doing what they have to keep the game interesting. They got to give you some kind of vulnerability, because you can't just walk through the game like you're untouchable. But even though we know that doesn't go with the theme of Wolverine, I totally understand why they did that, and I'm not going to nitpick at them for taking certain avenues of trying to make the Wolverine character into a video game. This was just like, it's kind of like with Blade. Blade is a pretty badass character in the movies, but I'm pretty sure he's going to have things that in the video game that are going to be there to make it to where it's a video game. And yes, you're going to have your vulnerabilities. You're going to have your mechanics that totally probably go against the lore of Blade, but it's there to create the ambiance, the atmosphere of what it is. It's still a video game. And that's where I'm not gonna I'm not gonna be one of those that'll be like, oh my God, look like it. I knew it was going to be somewhere along the lines of Spider-Man, because it's made by the same developer. It's like having an art style. I've said it about Ubisoft, like if I pick up a Far Cry game, I want to play a damn Far Cry game. I don't want my Far Cry game to feel like something else, and that's an art style. Same with Insomniac. Regretfully, I have to agree with Crusader that the studio Insomniac Games is becoming like the Marvel support studios. And it's really sad, considering Insomniac has done some really well put together games like Ratchet and Clank. And I really hope those don't take to the wayside, because no matter what anybody wants to say, like the Marvel franchises themselves, all of them are seeing just a teensy bit of burnout. And that's where it's I really hope that they don't get so deep into this whole thing of all we do is Marvel games that they actually forget what made them Insomniac to begin with. But at the same time, it's gonna feel like a Insomniac Marvel game. I did not expect anything different, other than it's Wolverine. It's gonna function differently. I do like what I think Shockley said. Hopefully, we get some of the other X-Men characters in there. We saw that in Marvel Midnight Suns. In Marvel Midnight Suns, we actually had an X-Men character, and eventually Wolverine came into the mix. And when you would actually like hang out and have interaction with them, they would talk about things that were going on around Professor Xavier's School for the Gifted and the experiences that they had as X-Men. And it would be really great to see that camaraderie in the Wolverine game. But not at any time do I think that the game's going to be trash because of this or trash because of that. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a very well put together game. And it's just really tragic that, we saw some developers out there that not only had all their blood, sweat, and tears leaked out in the world, but their personal information was leaked. We saw photos of passports and all this other stuff. And
Right.
and that's where it becomes a little personal. Like, for me, it's like, this goes beyond a video game. This goes on, like, this dude's like vital information is on the never forget machine called the internet. And so that's where it's kind of like, this is where console wars is getting pretty bad at this point, where we're championing and cheering for this stuff to happen, when honestly we should all take the stance of like, that kind of crossed the line when you guys leaked someone's personal information. And that's where, yeah, I just hope they hold that energy that the media decided to start. Like I said, I'm all over the place on my thoughts. I mean, yeah, it's funny to watch, but at the same time, it's like, oh man, is this really what gaming is getting into?
It was inevitable, but I agree with you. Hey, it sucks. It sucks, right? But again, it's happened to like a lot of again, maybe not to this extent, but again, we've had all kinds of information come out from Xbox, Capcom, and a whole bunch, over the years, especially in recent years. So I don't know. Again, I don't want it to happen to Insomniac, but at the same time, it happened. I hope again nothing happens to with the some of that personal information that leaked out. But again, that's something that Insomniac and the employees have to deal with. Let's see. But well said, Centurion. Well said. Moving over to Dots, and then I will hit up Grimes. Dots, buddy. Again, hearing the panel chat about this Insomniac hack. What are some of your thoughts on the matter?
I think it's very interesting. A way to kind of end last year. It really was a big news hitter, and me and Crusader had a nice long talk about it after it happened, and just I kind of like hearing about the inside of how a company's working. I think that seeing a lot of these statistics, a lot of this data is very insightful, and I think it kind of helps me as a gamer understand some of the process of what's going on inside these companies, and I know a lot of it's a lot of it's confidential, NDA, and obviously I not at all condone any sort of hacking of personal data and passports, addresses, email, all that stuff, but seeing the financials of a lot of Insomniac's games and a lot of Sony games and a lot of this information is just kind of like an eye opener of how are these companies doing, and where the numbers lie, and we're not just speculating everything. Yeah, and I think just as a consumer, I find a lot of and also as a business major, just seeing a lot of that financial data, and their how far in the future they're planning, and what they're doing with what they have currently, and how that's all going around. It's a lot of information that for someone like me, I very much enjoy seeing the data, even if though unfortunately the means were not ethical at all. So but yeah, no, I think everyone gave good points. I think I'm also of the agreement that if this happened to a Xbox company, everyone would be hyper analyzing it versus the white knighting that's going on.
It did happen.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It didn't.
Not...
There was no ransomware attack. There was no ransomware attack. There was no personal information.
Well, okay, I understand. Okay, that part of it, but I mean, a lot of information
I go
has
after the
leaked.
Companies that went after that reported on Capcom, not that. If you're dumb enough to have your own shit embedded in PDFs you're submitting to public court documents, your shit's gonna get reported on.
Yeah, I mean that stuff was.
So no, how about let's throw it on there. If they would have gotten this material through ill-gotten means, would you hold that same energy?
Huh? Yeah.
Now here's the thing: if that would have been leaked through let's just say a hacker did break into Xbox tonight and did the same shit.
Listen, I'm a person who's downloading this shit, so of course I'm gonna talk about it. But if I have no problem with someone not wanting to report on shit that comes from a hack, both from you might be redistributing copyright material and your company might be getting sued for it. Because there's a big difference in case law for accidental leaks versus stuff gotten from nefarious illegal means. So I understand the companies that don't want to report on this. That being said, the ones that I'm holding accountable are the ones that reported on Capcom in the way they're not reporting on whatchamacallit.
You do see that there is at least something going on in the media where they're treating Insomniac different with
Sure.
with this situation than
Sure, I
what we've
actually
seen
think
in
it's
the
more of
past
a
with other
Japanese
companies.
versus American thing than it is
Mhm.
than the fact that it's Insomniac themselves, because they treated Rockstar like this just a few months ago as well, where they
Oh,
most of them
yes.
refused to report on the footage that was leaked in the Rockstar
Fair.
ransomware attack. I
Well,
totally
fair
forgot
enough.
about that one, but yeah, because there was like 40 minutes of footage from GTA 6 leaked months
That's
ago.
correct. Yeah, there was.
And
Yeah.
most of the studios also refused to report on that. I actually think it's a Western developer versus Japanese developer thing more than anything. That they feel closer to the studios that they have bigger PR relationships with than they do the Eastern studios that they don't have direct relationships with because there's a language barrier.
All right. All right. That's actually very interesting. Yeah, that you brought that up.
Because, like, Capcom, the employees were barely even like referenced, like what by like the like or the consumer data. Like it was just gung ho. Here's all of the slides. Like it's a lot different.
All right. All right.
So, yeah. Because like I've been looking at it, and that's how a lot of people have been looking at it in games media. It's like, why did we treat Capcom differently? I've seen a bunch of people that I know have been asking themselves that question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was curious about too. But again, it's all just very interesting nonetheless. I want to get to some more panel members here though. Grimes, I would like to hear your thoughts, and then MLD can come in right at the end there. Grimes, I mean, obviously you've heard the guys, shoot back and forth about their thoughts on the matter. What do you think overall about the Insomniac hack and like the leaks that have come forth about it?
You guys touched on quite a bit, so I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it short. And of course, it's terrible and sad what happened to Insomniac. I really feel for all the developers and employees at Insomniac. Having your work, especially something you're really proud of, getting leaked to the masses like that, it sucks. But to add something that you and Centurion said, the outlets that did report on the Insomniac leaks got abused by fans and people in the industry. But like you guys mentioned it. Where was this outrage when Capcom got hacked? And Crusader is right. The thing is, the West just doesn't care about what happens to Japanese companies or developers. While Insomniac hack, for example, a lot of those developers that were outraged, they know each other. A lot of those Western studios are based in California, so a lot of those developers that have worked with each other, they're friends, and same with a lot of the journalists. They have contacts in a lot of those studios, so of course they're gonna react that way compared to a Japanese studio, which is terrible. Centurion touched on this, but the two things that really bothered me about this whole hack and leaks, whatever, forget about the game leaking, forget about the roadmaps and concept art, etc. Does the media not realize the gravity of a situation with the employee data breach? Exposing employees' passports, tax information, addresses, and whatnot. The media should be reporting on that, and they should be asking Sony why and how. I mean, Crusader did touch on it, but they should be asking did their security get breached? Why is it so bad? They've had so many hacks in the past. Why are they not doing something about it? I bet you Rockstar has learned a lesson from the hack they suffered last year or the year before. It's all been brushed under the rug by the media, and they've moved on to other stories. Companies should be held accountable for having such weak security, and when personal information is being put on strangers' hands. And it doesn't matter what company this happens to. I was livid when the ESA accidentally leaked people's addresses, mobile numbers, emails for E3 a few years back. And of course, the media did the right thing then by reporting it, but it was popular, and it's still popular to hate on the ESA. So that's one reason they did it. And yeah, like I said, I would be reacting the same way if Microsoft had terrible security and personal information was leaked. Same thing with Rockstar, Nintendo, Ubisoft. Doesn't matter what company this happens to, you need to fix your security. And that, I mean, yeah, we've talked about it, So I really don't have many other points to talk about, since we discussed quite a bit. But yeah.
All right. Well said there, Grimes. Well said. MLD, please round us out here. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the matter.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, first, obviously, goes without saying, the leak is unfortunate, especially with the whole personal information. So that's just, I hope that is minimized, any backlash with that. But it is interesting that we can dissect the roadmap now the Insomniac is doing. These guys make games so quickly. I don't know how they do it. But their roadmap with X-Men, Venom, all that stuff. So essentially, they are going to be a Marvel studio. But some may not like that they're too specialized at this point. But I mean, I get it from a business stance, because say their Resistance IP, Ratchet and Clank, they sell a fraction compared to Spider-Man. So I get it. You play to your strengths, you go where the money is, and if people like their takes on superhero games, make more of them. Fine. But I hope this gives Xbox a reminder, though, to pick and choose their own licensed IP and to do more of it, so that they know the value of IP that just aren't limited to video games, that have mass appeal about that. So this is telling that Sony is going wide market with these exclusive deals. Now, the whole conversation on exclusive superhero IP, like I saw all that unfold, how Sony gets all these Marvel deals, and nobody bats an eye because, of course. But Blade for Xbox is looked under this like a microscope, and I'm sure we all see that kind of double standard that's going on here. Yes, one is more market share than the other, but that doesn't mean Xbox can't have any of their own exclusive licensed IP. But I digress with that one. I also find it interesting that upcoming games like Venom, I wonder if that's going to reuse the same map as Spider-Man 2, because only Insomniac can pull this off. Because I just see this as a certain perspective. Like, imagine if an Xbox studio made multiple games that had the same map reused and slightly iterated and fed back to the public for several games at a time. Like, people call Forza Horizon games all the same, but they take place in different countries. But nobody bats an eye that Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Spider-Man 2, and possibly Venom are all going to take place in the same map. I'm just saying. So there's... I guess maybe that's why Insomniac can crank out so many games. They're just using a lot of assets over and over again.
I guess the real question is, how do you do New York differently? Like, it's not like how do you do New York differently? Spider-Man is New York's
Twitter,
superhero.
right?
I mean,
I
New
get
York
that, I
is a
get
big
that.
state, so you just do,
But yeah, he's
New York.
specifically, what is it? He's Queens superhero specifically?
Well,
His Hell's
Manhattan.
Kitchen
Well,
is Daredevil.
Yeah.
Like explicitly, he is New York City's superhero. So like, you can add more to it, and that's what they did with 2. But like, how do you do Spider-Man that's not New York? Do you just say
I
he's
hear
in
that a
another
lot.
city?
Yeah, I mean, is it so crazy to have Spider-Man not take place in New York? Has it ever
it
been
is,
done in the
yeah.
A
comics?
little bit, yeah.
Yeah, actually,
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Is that such a
regardless,
crazy thought? No.
It would be like, it's usually only in crossover stuff that he leaves New York City.
so at least
Um,
I can kind of see where General MLD is coming from in the fact that how about it's okay for them to reuse assets, but Xbox has to reach into the freaking bag and pull a damn rabbit out of their ass every single time when it comes to having to do something different. It's basically, I see where General's coming from, that it's okay for Insomniac to do this, to mill out games very quickly, and there's nothing wrong with that, but why is it good for Tom and bad for Dave?
I
Hmm.
I disagree
so I
with you
can't
because
think of an example where Xbox has tried to do something like this. Like,
Well, they say that about Forza
It's-
Horizon, like it's all
They
the
do?
same. But it's
I mean,
like 4
again,
and
that's
5
kind
is
like,
England and Mexico. I mean, what?
I've
Okay, they
never
have
seen a
trees.
review say that.
They have
I've never seen
oceans.
anyone who matters say that. I've seen
Yeah.
weirdo console warriors say that.
yeah,
Like-
don't you guys remember they
It-
criticized God of War for reusing assets? I don't think it's console
Yeah, like
wars.
I don't.
What was the scale of the criticisms for Breath of the Wild, Tears of the
Yeah,
Kingdom?
like Breath of the Wild
assets?
reused all the same map too.
But that was very
They
tame
just-
criticism as
Tears
well,
of a
though.
Kingdom.
They just added. Oh yeah, Tears of the Kingdom. You're right. They just added the floating islands.
They added the floating islands
And the
above, and they
underneath.
added like an underground area,
Yeah.
but then the main ground was like generally the same.
Can I
But-
just
but
add one
again,
more
the
thing?
Gamers as a whole gave Nintendo a pass on that.
Go for it, Grimes.
Yeah, I was just
Ah.
gonna say, people want fast development. The only way you
Yeah.
can release games as fast is by reusing assets, and every single studio that has a second game in the franchise or a third game reuses the same assets. It's not something new. It's been done for decades.
And did like the industry not give Xbox a pass for every Forza Horizon that you're claiming that they complained about, considering that 30 million people have played it? Like, I just don't see where the legitimate criticism that isn't just some person on Twitter that is meaningless in the grand scheme of things is saying it.
That's
Like,
fair enough,
it's
fair enough. But we do
I
deal
just
with
I don't
that-
see it
those
as like
people
an
on the daily.
actual thing that people are complaining about, the real people.
Oh, of course. So yeah, obviously I agree with you on that. But we do deal with the online hardcore gamer discussions pretty frequently. I mean, what? Because Forza Horizon 4 and 5 have trees and lakes and roads. It's the same game, even though it's England and Mexico.
Oh no,
and,
they
like,
both have the exact
every-
same BMW i3 or something like
Every
that.
Forza-
Woe is me!
Every Forza Motorsport and every Gran Turismo have had the same like tracks in them. Why? Because they're real tracks in real life, and there's only so many real tracks that you can physically have. Like it's again, like those kind of things are just so non-issues to me. Like I
in
guess
that
the
case-
only big one that I've ever seen that was ridiculous was Far Cry Primal, completely reusing Far Cry 4's map, and them trying to say that they didn't when they did.
Did they actually?
In that
Um,
case,
Oh yeah, it's the same map. It's the exact same map.
Oh, I had no idea, really.
Yeah, it's the exact
know
same map. It's not actually a problem. It's just that the problem is that they said that they were like, no, we didn't use the same map. Yes, you did. You just retextured a bit of it.
well,
Like-
in that case, I do want to say that then Xbox should find a game where they can make 3+ games with the same map and justify it. Then,
So I mean, they kind of have that with Skyrim.
well, yeah.
Game gets re-released every
Keep re-releasing it.
Halo?
I guess that
3
counts.
years.
I mean,
guess that
Halo
counts.
with its
Yeah.
maps. I mean, Valhalla,
And Gears.
Ragnarok.
And Gears Online, Gears
Yeah,
Multiplat.
like so they kind of like all FPSs have kind of had this for forever because like we remake the same maps over and over again and keep putting them in the
Nuketown,
games because
baby.
people love them. Yeah, Nuketown. There are 2 versions of the pit in Halo Infinite.
Blood
Like-
Gulch.
Yeah, Blood Gulch. Yeah, like FPS games have been doing this for forever. So like it's just such a non-issue to me.
Yeah.
I
Well,
would rather more companies do it if it means that a good game that I'm going to get to play comes out faster, personally speaking.
Yeah. But I feel like a multiplayer map isn't the same as scale as, say, a whole campaign.
Sure.
So Xbox should maybe find a way to work that angle too. I don't know. I'm wondering because if people give a pass on this, yeah, Xbox should more than find their own way to do it then as well. But hey, whatever. But overall, though, I think, and I do want to touch on what you guys all talked about though with the how the gaming media did a double standard between this leak and with Capcom. I just feel like I don't want to pull the Xbox tax card, but I just feel like Sony and their developers, they're just coddled when this stuff happens compared to anybody else. But I do think that the point about Capcom being overseas in Japan, so that Western media doesn't really have a need to please them or whatever.
Well,
I
they don't
do
have a
see that point as
relationship with
well.
them. Like, I actually do think there's an empathy part of it to it, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
there are people that physically know people at Insomniac, right? That have, like, some people in the games journalism industry have been in it for years. Like years and years. They've met hundreds of devs from Insomniac over that time. Like, they have actual empathy for these people versus people at Capcom, they may not have ever met a single developer from Capcom because it's Japanese. I don't even think it's like an explicit thing. I think it's an implicit thing. Like, I don't know you, and I'm going to report on this because I don't know you.
Yeah, but that just shows that emotions can get in the way of, same energy journalism,
Correct. There is a very parasocial relationship that the games journalism has with, because some journalists took it too far, and had to be put down by other journalists who were like, no, we do have there's some things we do have to report on from this, because most places ran a story on it. Right, that like this is what happened,
Right.
And it was only like, and then others were like they picked and choose what they report on. I don't think anyone reported on the actual assets from Wolverine, like, at all. I don't think I saw a single report on that. Even Insider Gaming didn't really talk much about, like, there's some things that I've seen that like I haven't seen circulating online, and like I don't think any of you brought up, like, at all, and I don't want to bring them up because it'd be cool if people were surprised by it.
Right.
Now, did people report on the GTA leaks gameplay? I mean, obviously you can't show it, but did people at least talk about it?
They said that it happened, but like I went back and looked into this because like I did call out a couple of people for poor reporting. Like, I did call out Game Over Gregory and their crew for misreporting, but a lot of people basically said that, like, yeah, gameplay footage, or that, like, they basically said that things were hacked and were published online, but they didn't explicitly say what. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
It was basically like, hey, stuff happened to Rockstar, because that is news, like, physically. But they did, some studios said, like, gameplay footage. Almost none of them talked about what was in the gameplay.
Okay.
Because, and I like, what was in that gameplay still hasn't really circulated. I get, like, you guys probably, most of you don't, like, because I've seen most of it. Because, like, the new trailer still hasn't even confirmed everything that was in those gameplay bits from Rockstar. Like, their press release still hasn't confirmed everything that we saw.
Okay. Well,
interesting. I mean, I like, me personally, I did see a bit of it, what you're talking about, but I know I didn't watch, like, the entirety of it, so because I want to be left surprised too, right?
Yeah.
So, but
see, I'm like Red Skull from Infinity War, or was it Endgame? Which, yeah, no, Infinity War. I will guide you all to a treasure that I myself cannot possess, which is I will view all of the leaks so that no one else has to.
Gotcha.
So I can tell people what to not ignore or look out for.
Gotcha. Anything else, MLD, to round us off?
Nah, no. I think we said it all. Yeah.
All right.
Leaks are bad.
Well, they can be. But yeah, guys, I think we're gonna end off this one. But honestly, very spirited talk, and again, I thought we all had some really interesting points on this one. Coming at it from different directions, but again, I hope Sony and Insomniac, again, cover themselves, work on their security, and I mean, I really hope that the game. Games like Wolverine or whatever they have on the pipe turn out to be really awesome games. But yeah, lots of interesting things touched on there. Guys in the chat, everybody tuning in, it is great to have you all here. If you haven't done so already, smash that like button and, of course, sub to the channel and share out this video. All right, guys, without further delay, moving into some other bits of news, and it appears that Xbox will be having another developer direct. Rumors are circulating of a return of the popular direct from last January, with closer looks at games, release dates, and maybe even another surprise shadow drop. While nothing has been officially announced yet, many are speculating we'll be hearing something quite soon. And I know, there's excitement in the air. Now, Centurion, my gaming super sleuth, I know you've been hot on the heels of this topic. Do you believe we'll be hearing something about a developer direct announced soon, or is it just baseless rumors?
And chatting with Crusader, because I obviously showed Crusader what I had. I did a video on it, shameless plug. But this is one, so I'll at least put it out right here. I love how everybody keeps saying, it was even in the comments that Elder Scrolls Online is not a tentpole franchise for the Xbox brand. I challenge you to go look at the financials for that game and to see that that developer and publisher have been having what they refer to as the Elder Scrolls Online global reveal at the end of every January for years. This is like QuakeCon, BlizzCon, E3, games, basically all these conventions that happen at the same time every single year. This Elder Scrolls event is actually one of those events that takes place, and ZeniMax has sometimes done the event live. I've tuned in where they're sitting on a stage in front of a crowd and they're getting a lot of people excited for what Elder Scrolls is going to provide. So in a letter published on Elder Scrolls website from the game director, he went in to tell everybody that we're going into the 10-year anniversary of Elder Scrolls Online. But that's a little bit of a tricky question, because technically Elder Scrolls Online came out in 2015. No, wait, 2014 on PC, and then 2015 on 2014 on PC, 2015 on console. So he started going into about how he has all these events planned. They're going to have stuff on the Elder Scrolls channel. They're going to turn this into a giant celebration that's going to last 1 year, starting from April of this year to June of next year, because June 2016 is when they revealed it on the console. And in his letter, he did state that he is excited and cannot wait to show people what they have in store next at the end of January in their global reveal show. Now, as we all know, last year, Xbox piggybacked on that show. And even though Xbox came on, and I was even telling my wife about this today, even though Xbox came on an hour before the Elder Scrolls show, the Xbox had to cram anything they wanted to show in a 1 hour period of time. And they actually gave about 5 to 10 minutes of that show to Elder Scrolls Online, who then had a 1 hour show after the developer direct. So like this, like in my opinion, Xbox needs to definitely uh they need to embrace the fact that they own ZeniMax now, and that this is a big event for ZeniMax. This is an MMO that, in my opinion, rivals World of Warcraft and other MMOs out there. It has a huge fan base both on console and PC, and that's where Xbox really has an opportunity here to really make 2024 a big deal. We've got ZeniMax having their 10-year anniversary for their big, massive multiplayer online. They have another MMO in store, and you never know, they might be able to really kind of give people a taste of what's next for ZeniMax at a developer direct around that time. But we also have Activision, who is getting ready to start kind of stop with the Call of Duty gaming mill. We're going to see developers being able to work on projects that mean more to them than Call of Duty. We're also going to see games being put into Game Pass. There's a lot of stuff going around right now for Activision, and we would love some more news on that. And this would be a great opportunity to give people a little bit of a taste or a hint of what 2024 is going to look like for the Activision brand. And then, of course, there's the all-encompassing Xbox brand. Like, we're already talking about how Double Fine potentially is going to have a reveal of Kiln. Me and Crusader, we had a big conversation, and he believes that there's a little bit of a game that could potentially be shadow dropped. And that's where I'm not going to be the one to steal info from him. I'll let him be the one to kind of talk about that game. It's a game we're all excited for. Very, very unique game. And he wanted to point out that there is a big potential that game is going to be the one that got shadow dropped. There's a lot that could really kind of just, in my opinion, set the bar for 2024 for gaming when it comes to all these brands. Xbox is able to walk out on stage and really set the bar and set the tone for 2024. And that's where, if they do, I'm going to be very curious on the other brand, the other big blue brand, on how they're going to respond, considering, let's just be blunt about it, they have a very mediocre, very paltry offering for what we're normally used to seeing coming out of that brand. I mean, even Colin Moriarty decided to have a rant online about how the PlayStation brand seems a little bit different than what we've seen in the past. But I do happen to be in agreement with also Crusader. He put it out there on Twitter that we are going to see a date for this event sometime next week. We could all wake up tomorrow morning. Yeah, I know. We could all wake up tomorrow morning and have something, because I mean, Mondays, for whatever damn reason, Xbox loves revealing stuff like because I'm over here on the west side of the United States. So for me, it happens at like 5-6 o'clock in the morning. And then I wake up and all hell has broken loose on social media that woke up on the East Coast because Xbox decided to say something hella early in the morning, my time. And we could see something like that, but at least I'm still, I don't want to say it's going to happen tomorrow, but I will at least say that we are probably going to see these events, the dates for them, get locked in sometime this coming week, because Elder Scrolls has yet to actually put a hardened date on when their event is going to take place. As of right now, it still stands as end of January.
All right. Well said there, Sent. Yeah, I mean, like, we're all anticipating something's about to happen. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if it was tomorrow that we heard something. But
if the show is this week, it'll be tomorrow. If the announcement doesn't happen tomorrow, it's not this week.
All right. Yeah, well, yeah, we'll see. I mean, what is there a rumored date, Crusader?
This week.
So
this week is the rumor.
Interesting.
But then
so
wouldn't that go against the idea
basically,
of creating hype?
Everyone had, like, Jez Corden, from what I can gather, is like, yeah, no, I would bet money that this event is happening. Why? Because he's heard it a billion times in the background, but doesn't have concrete information, so he's not going to write a real report on it. because he doesn't write stories if he can't
Right.
confirm something
Mm-hmm.
concretely. Insider Gaming is like, yeah, our sources have basically said that, yeah, this is happening in January. We just don't know. We don't have a date. We're trying to lock down a date for it. And then the leaker who said that it's happening this week also successfully leaked 2 Nintendo Directs exactly 1 week ahead of time. So
All
I'm thinking Thursday. Thursday or Wednesday. There was also some previous rumors that their plan was to announce it and have the show happen within a week. So there was no waiting period, which has been a Nintendo strategy for a long time now. Nintendo kind of announces their directs the same week and then they happen. And people seem to like that.
Yeah,
So-
why not?
Yeah, that's right. Well, again, they're like bite-sized shows, right? So,
Yeah, I think this one's going to be different than last year's, though. Well, I'll talk to that later when it's my actual turn. But yeah, that was the official rumor, was that it's this month, almost certainly next week, or this week, next week, whatever you want to call it. Maybe.
All right. Let's see. Grimes, I'll hit you up next. Again, what are your thoughts? Do you, again, last year we had a developer direct that was very popular, had a lot of great reception to it. It was around this time last year. Do you think we'll hear something very soon about a new developer direct from Xbox?
Absolutely. And like Crusader said, Microsoft has seen that this sort of event works. They've seen it works really well for Nintendo. So absolutely, they're going to announce something in the next couple of weeks. I've been, of course, trying to avoid a lot of the rumors because I just want to go in blind and be surprised. And of course, everyone expects a shadow drop like Hi-Fi Rush, but I think it's the wrong way to approach an event like this. And don't pressure, let the teams cook. Don't pressure anyone into release something early or whatever. What would I like to see? Maybe the Compulsions game South of Midnight would be nice. Like you guys mentioned, Tim Schafer's game. He's a brilliant mind, and I just can't wait to see what he's got in the works. Every game he's worked on, it's pure gold. So yeah, he's one of my favorite people in the gaming industry, and I can't wait to see what he's got planned. I don't think we're gonna see games like Perfect Dark. I think we're gonna save that for the summer. I think we might see Stalker 2. We haven't heard anything about that game in a while. It's not a first-party game, but since Microsoft has invested so much money on it, I expect we're gonna hear something about it. And then I forget the name of this game, similar to City Skylines. I think it's called Ara. If I'm correct me. If
Our
I'm not.
History Untold is more akin to Civilizations.
Okay, so we might. I think it got delayed. It was supposed to come out last year, so
Yes.
maybe we'll get a new look of that game. We'll maybe get a new glimpse. Then I think we might hear something about Activision under Microsoft. What are their plans? Maybe get some teaser announcements. When we're expecting them to drop some of those games, or maybe that could be the shadow drop. Just drop several Activision games the day of the event, like as the event is going on. Maybe they'll drop some of those games into Game Pass. But yeah, just don't get carried away. Let them do their thing, and then we're gonna find out this week what happens.
All right. That's a fair comment, Grimes. Yeah, actually, you brought up a couple of titles that I hadn't thought about in a while, like Aura, for example, and even the Tim Schafer Double Fine game you were talking of. We'll speak a little more about that in a sec. But man, just there's a lot. I keep forgetting that Xbox has all these games cooking in the background. It's amazing.
And then what was that game? The zombie game. I'm completely blacking out.
State of Decay.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything about that game in what, like 4 years.
Basically, yeah, since I guess summer of 2020, yeah.
And I don't think it holds us. It's not as big as something like Perfect Dark or Hellblade. So maybe they could throw it in an event like this.
Possibly. I mean, again, it's not going to be well, we'll see, but it's probably not going to be a very big show, but it would be interesting to see it there. Yeah, we haven't heard about it in a long time, like you said. Let's see here. General MLD, I mean, I would love to know your thoughts on this. I mean, obviously, there seems to be excitement, some kind of hype for this rumored January Developer Direct. What do you think? Think we'll hear something very soon about it?
Oh yeah, I mean, I personally thought it would be the end of the month, but hey, if it's sooner, hey, I'm all for that too. Especially if they do the Nintendo approach where they announce it and do it in the same week. Keep the hype consistently high. It was great PR last year, so I would hope they recognize that and seek to repeat it. I feel like we'll get the usual suspects, the pair of games that Bethesda always brings out: Elder Scrolls Online, Fallout 76. They'll give their year roadmap. It was already touched upon with Elder Scrolls there, how it's their 10th anniversary, which is amazing, by the way. I had no idea it's already been 10 years for that game. I feel like Bethesda might round it out with Fallout 4 Next Gen Update. We were supposed to get information on that last year, but we never did. So I feel like this might be the occasion to do that and capitalize on the TV show coming up. And on that note, maybe even Fallout 3 Remaster. Look at that. But that's just my own personal thing.
I think Oblivion will be first.
Oh, okay. Well, either way.
Because both were previously, we know from the court documents, but Oblivion was the one that was supposed to come out first.
Right. Okay, I was just thinking based on the TV show, but I guess Fallout 4 Next Gen Update will have to do then. I think that'll be it for Bethesda there, personally, because there's only so much you can really do in an hour. But I feel like we'll see more of what we already know about. So the obvious ones are Towerborn, Flight Sim 2024. If we're lucky, we'll see more Avowed and Hellblade 2. R was also mentioned. I think maybe even a Stalker 2 trailer, maybe a release date if they are confident, because it's supposed to be in Q1, so people are mostly thinking March. So I will see if they're confident enough to give a date on that. I think ABK will drop their first batch of games onto Game Pass, because I think they'll do it in steps. Like they'll do here's some 360 Call of Duty games. Oh, here's the prototype games. Here's the Crash Bandicoot Spyro games. They're gonna do this in bursts, like every batch, every couple or few months, to keep the PR running smoothly. So I think we might get a first glimpse of what's coming there too. It's easy. It's just free PR. It's great. Double Fine. I'm kind of confident about that too. I kept up with the rumors on that, because it's been a couple 2.5 years since Psychonauts 2. So I feel like they've been cooking for a while. I feel like they can at least reveal a trailer or something there.
They started hiring for Kiln while Psychonauts was in development, by the way.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, because their games aren't graphically intensive either, so I wouldn't imagine a 5-year dev cycle either for these kinds of games anyway. Part of me thinks World's Edge might show something, like maybe even Age of Mythology, something like that, like to appease the PC Game Pass crowd. But
Don't even
overall,
get me started.
Aura
man.
is PC
Don't even
only,
get me
so
started.
like that would fill that one would fill that slot.
yeah. No, I'm just saying all the different possibilities. Really, I hope Aura is delayed to also give an Xbox day one release, because time and time again I've seen the community get mad when Gears Tactics, Flight Simulator, they all got PC first and Xbox version came later. I really hope that delay went towards that as well. Age of Empires 2, Age of Empires 4. Yeah, Xbox has a little habit of doing that lately. So I hope Aura changes that, but we'll see. If the PC version has to come out by itself, but it ends up being an amazing game, then okay, whatever. If it comes out for Xbox end of 2024, as long as it's great, okay, whatever. I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But overall, I'm just expecting release dates, not for all games, but at least one or two, because we know release windows, we know release months or quarters, but not exact dates. So if they can address that, which they did last January for a few games, I think will be good. But yeah, give us teasers, drop a couple surprise things like ABK or Double Fine, and we'll be happy. As far as any shadow drop or stealth drop goes, yeah, that could be anything. That's anybody's guess.
All right. Good thoughts there, MLD. Good thoughts. Next up, Shockley. Eric, I would love to know your thoughts. I think we all kind of liked last year's show. It was, small, a very small offering, but at the same time had some very interesting announcements, especially, again, nobody saw that shadow drop coming. We had kind of heard stuff in the background, but still very nice little event. I don't know. What do you think? You agree with the guys? Think we'll hear something soon about a new event?
Yeah, I think they're gonna. At least I think that's what their intention would be, like with the schedule. Have E3 or have their show they do around June for like the big heavy hit announcements, stuff they haven't either announced or it's been so long, kind of like a Perfect Dark, where we've never really seen any glimpse of it yet, to keep those closer to the best at that stage. And then use this one at the beginning of the year to kind of highlight stuff like that's planned to come out this year, like Avowed and Hellblade, stuff we've already seen recently gameplay of. I wouldn't think Hellblade would be at it, since they did kind of do, unless they're going to do more of a deep dive and not just kind of like a sizzle reel, to like give us more information on it. But yeah, I think they're going to use that and they have so many studios now that they could easily, hey, what's a smaller, project you're working on? Cool, we'll use that for, big announcement to get our fan base, hyped. We're dropping a game in Game Pass, like Shadow Drop, like they did. Yeah, I wouldn't, like someone else had mentioned, I wouldn't count on that going in, just because that's a high expectation. Like the other companies don't really do that. Sometimes they'll do a shadow
Nintendo
drop.
Does.
They do it,
Nintendo
but
did it last year too with Metroid Prime.
Yeah, but some of theirs aren't like when was the last time they did a shadow drop of like an original IP
Oh,
that
I
was
don't think they
like
ever have.
on a hi-fi rush? Yeah, they'll do it like,
never.
hey, we're bringing more N64 games to our.
Yep.
Or we're bringing in 60 or whatever. Yeah, they'll probably would just still be somewhat a big announcement. I would say more so to their level would be like they announced GameCube games were coming to. I think that would likely to be happening, but stuff like that. But yeah, I wouldn't set up your expectation to expect that like every time they have one of even if they start to have one of these shows. Every year around the same time, to the point where you can basically count on it, like their June show. I wouldn't count on the shadow drops. But especially if they get any of those, basically Activision support devs that used to make games, if they start peeling off a few of those, like they already have a ton of studios, so adding those to the fold and and a lot of times some of these studios are at least decent size enough that they might have a smaller team making, another game. I'm sure with Tango, for example, been working on Hi-Fi Rush. I'm sure that's probably not what their whole studio was working on. They probably have some other higher end AAA stuff. Well, obviously they have Ghostwire Tokyo, but they probably even have other games in the works since that game had already released the year prior that they might have like early concepts on. So a lot of these studios have multiple different smaller projects if they're not like a coalition or 343 where they're mainly focused on like one mega project at a time. But yeah, hopefully get an announcement here soon, and especially this is where they can highlight like more Game Pass announcements or stuff like we already know what's coming with Persona, with the remake there, and just any other partnerships that they have planned out through the year, because that stuff you might as well get out and not hold until E3, because you want to make sure people are like not, hey, I'm just going to wait until a certain time to, you want to make sure people like, hey, if something's just around the corner, they'll probably just keep their subscription versus like, hey, I'm only holding on to Game Pass for, Avowed, and it's not going to come out until the end of the year, so let me just cancel. Let them know about the partnerships early on, especially if you have those sprinkled out throughout the year, so which they should. But yeah, I'm definitely hyped to hopefully that part of the rumor was true. So we hopefully hear something sooner than later and see some cool stuff and announcements. And but yeah, definitely looking forward to it.
All right. So far, lots of excitement from the guys. Thank you, Eric. All right, so Dots, I'll hit you up next, and then Crusader will round us off. Dots, again, any thoughts? Any excitement for a possible developer direct announcement sometime soon?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely excited for the idea of a direct showing up. I do kind of find it hilarious that I occasionally feel like there's more hype for announcements than the actual games like to be played themselves. I feel like we're kind of getting into an energy like that. Like maybe not us, like our like group here that we're talking with, but there's a lot of people who spend more of their time worrying about what's being announced and the games coming out than actually themselves picking up the games and playing them themselves. So it's just a little side thought that's been going on in my head. But no, overall I'm hype. I think Xbox getting a direct style thing, like another direct style thing like they did before, I think it will go over very well for the community, for the life cycle of the games. Obviously with something like Game Pass, I think that it's a little bit more like powerful for them to do something like that, because it allows for them to advertise and spread out, because they have a lot of developers that put their content onto Game Pass now, and so that's something for them to to something to praise, something to bolster up, and I think that that's something to continue doing. I mean, yeah, another shadow drop. I mean, I don't think that's a guarantee, but I think that will be something. I mean, I will never say no to a shadow drop. That's hardly a debate on that. So, but no, I'm very optimistic about it. I don't. There's no downside from game announcements in any way, shape, or form. So that's really all I got on that matter.
All right, that's fair. Hey, short and sweet is fine. I mean, honestly, I guess we're all just kind of curious what tomorrow will bring, right? And yeah, Crusader, why don't you round us off here? I mean, like, again,
Sure.
What are your thoughts on the matter?
I want to take something back that I said.
All right.
It could be announced as late as Tuesday.
Okay.
And I say that because when Nintendo does it, they announce it a day in between. So the event's not going to be on a Friday. I don't see a Friday. Friday's like dead news day, just like typical in the world. It's like you do things on Friday to evade marketing cycle, because you want news for both the day you do something and the next day. So it's not going to be Friday. If it's Thursday, it could be announced as late as Tuesday. If it's Wednesday, it'll be announced tomorrow. That being said, we've seen two styles of quote directs from Xbox now. We saw the developer direct last year, which fit this time slot, right? Which was completely, and I'm going to use the word first party, and I'm going to use the word first party correctly, even though there was external content from third-party studios. Their second-party terminology doesn't exist. It's a term we as gamers made up to describe Rare. It was all stuff published by Microsoft last year, right? But then we also had that it was like the partner direct or something we had in November, where they did Metal Gear, where Metal Gear was there, and there was a couple other cool games there. And that one was all third party. I actually think that this one's going to be a blend of first and third party. I think it's actually basically going to be a mini version of what they do in the summer, just shorter. And the reason I say that is you look at what's coming like legitimately in just the first quarter with Xbox's partners, and you realize that they really have to. It's more than last year, right? And last year they did get a little bit of criticism for not highlighting things like Black Myth Wukong not Black Myth. What was the Souls-like game from? I think it was Koei Tecmo. It wasn't Black Myth Wukong. That hasn't come out yet. Yeah. Wolong and what was the other game that launched in the first quarter? Atomic Heart, right? They didn't. I don't want to say they caught flack, but it was one thing I noticed was they didn't advertise those as coming to their platform strongly enough, in my opinion, around the time that they were coming. And they have a couple big games that are coming to Game Pass in like the first 2 months. They have Persona 3 Reloaded, and they have there's another one, I can't think of what it is. Quarter 1 is supposed to have Stalker 2 according to a Stalker trailer from, I believe, November, right? So at the very least, Stalker's probably only, if it's going to get delayed, it's probably not getting delayed more than a quarter. So you're still looking at like the first half of the year. I think that they show off some. I think this is more of a Game Pass direct. Does that make sense? We had the third party direct. We had the Xbox internal developer direct. I think this is going to be more of a Game Pass direct where they're gonna. It'll probably be mostly first party, but I think they will cover some third-party content that's coming, especially early in the year, right?
Right, yeah.
Now, I thought Power World was coming to Game Pass, but evidently it was never announced, and I completely imagined that. However, Power World is going to... For those of you who don't know what Power World is, this is the game that Centurion was referencing earlier. Power World is Pokemon with guns and crafting.
That's going to be a fun one.
And the first time I looked at it, I saw it, I thought it was like a cheap knockoff game. And it still kind of feels like a cheap knockoff game, but every trailer just looks so good and looks fun. Like, and visually somehow it looks significantly better than anything Game Freak has put out in forever. But
since the Sprite games.
Yeah, since the Sprite games. The Sprite games to this day look incredible. But Power World is supposed to have... It's supposed to launch in January this year in early access. We know that. And it is an Xbox and PC game. Craftopia was launched into Game Pass. I thought they announced Power World for Game Pass, but I can't find a reference to it anywhere online anymore. But it's supposed to have its release date announced next week, which is the big reason why I actually do believe the Direct is this week, right? And I say next week. It's supposed to be announced this week, right? Like this week we are going into, starting tomorrow, the work week we're going into. So with Power World being an Xbox partner game, it's shown up at a bunch of Xbox events. I think that we get the launch trailer for its early access this week at Xbox's event. I think it only makes too much sense. And Pocket Pair launched Craftopia into Game Pass day one. I could see that, and this is the game that I think will actually be the quote shadow drop. It's not quite the same, right? We know it's supposed to be coming out in January of this year in early access, but it doesn't have a date. And I think one of the big things Xbox is going to go for at all of its events from now on is something that you can play today after the event. And that doesn't necessarily mean a shadow drop. It could mean that, like, hey, we brought all these cool games into Game Pass from like Sega or something like that, right?
Right.
Like, a good example of that was when they at the Game Awards like 2 years ago when Yakuza dropped in during the Game Awards and then a bunch more of them were coming later. I think they're going to focus on this concept of something that you can play after the show. And it doesn't necessarily mean a brand new game. It could even be like a new season launching or something like that. But I think they're going to want a brand that like, hey, come and watch this stuff and you're going to come away and there's going to be something you can play today, right? And I think that's much more of a realistic thing to expect, because you can't go in expecting that they're going to do something like Hi-Fi Rush every year. I do expect that they will do it again at some point, not this year. But I think that that is something, again, when you have a subscription service like a Game Pass, you need to constantly kind of build excitement for it. And when you schedule like all of these games to come in like all the time to it, having some kind of third-party deal where it's like, oh yeah, today all of Assassin's Creed enters Game Pass. Like those are the kind of things that I'm going to start expecting from their shows, just because that's kind of how you market something like Game Pass, right? But I'm not expecting a Hi-Fi Rush again. It would be really cool. I'm not gonna lie. But it's not something I'm expecting. I do think that ESO will. I think they're going to do the same thing they did last year, where the direct happens first, ESO show immediately follows with a 1-minute trailer for whatever the new expansion is. Centurion, you think we're getting crossplay this year? Because that would be pretty sick.
What, for Elder Scrolls?
Yeah. Plenty of games have added it in after the fact. Like Warframe just added it.
That's one of the things I will say I am confused about, and I guess, like, hey, let's be criticism of Xbox. I am confused about the crossplay situation with Elder Scrolls Online. It
Fallout
may have
76 too.
That too.
Yeah.
I also think it's weird that you can't, your character cannot migrate between European and North American servers. Like I have friends in the UK that want to play with me, but I'd have to make a new character to either go in with them or vice versa.
That's a very MMO thing that a lot of MMOs have had to grow out of. Like, Dots, correct me if I'm wrong, Final Fantasy 14 still kind of has that problem.
It does. It's slowly mitigating it, but at the same time, I think they took them and WoW have like one of those, if you want to transfer your character to a completely different world server, you have to pay money.
Yeah.
There's even that, but I at least have the good fortune of knowing what Elder Scrolls looked like before the one Tamriel expansion, before they overhauled the game.
Right.
All the zones had like level caps to them and stuff like that. The one Tamriel expansion was a night and day difference on opening that game up. But the big thing I think people should be allowed to do is transfer their damn accounts from PlayStation to Xbox or PC.
Yep.
At least be able to transfer their accounts from a different platform, kind of like what Destiny did, or cross save. But I know one of the reasons why they do it is because it's not like so when you buy an expansion for Elder Scrolls Online, it is not DLC. You are buying you're buying access to the area, but it's account bound. So if I buy that expansion, if my wife was to go play Elder Scrolls right now, she would have access to nothing I have purchased over the years because it's all account bound. And that's
Destiny is similar to that. A lot of the purchases are bound explicitly to your account, and so like in Destiny, all the expansions, right? If you buy them on one platform, you can still cross save, but you don't get access.
Yeah, and I really do wish they would at least do, and I don't even want to say cross save, but at least say, hey, pay $5 and we'll transfer your character to a different platform of your choosing. Because I know a lot of people that have their account stuck on PlayStation that would like to come to Xbox or what have you, and it actually happens to be a very big gripe in the Elder Scrolls community about people that have fallen out of love of where they started playing the game and have a new place they would like to play it, but there's no way to transfer your character.
Yeah, like Warframe had that problem for a long time. They're finally now letting you transfer all of your saves across all the platforms. I know they're having technical problems with it, but like, you know, they're moving towards it. But yeah, ESO 100% will be there. I think Fallout 76 100% will be there. And people, I constantly see people going like, why are these things there? And I'm like, because they don't leave Steam's top 100. They're huge money makers. They're not
Yes,
quite
they
the
are,
money
yep.
maker that like Call of Duty is, but like they're
They make
so
money.
in the green in terms of like how much money they bring in that it would be nonsense to not advertise them, because we live in this new world order of some games are ongoing and there are some very popular ongoing ones.
Go look at the financials for Elder Scrolls Online when it first
Yeah.
came out,
Yeah.
and look at their budget now,
Yeah.
and look at the revenue that they rake in, and it'd be like, yeah,
Yeah.
no wonder they keep throwing money at
Yeah.
that moment.
We should be happy Xbox has successful live service games.
Yes,
Like,
they,
yeah.
they have a
That
ton
is
of them.
true.
Sea of Thieves, which Sea of Thieves is actually a great example of a game where they kind of keep reusing the map, but that's because it keeps going. We were talking about that earlier, and I thought about that, and it's like Sea of Thieves, like the live service model is kind of that reuse of assets. So instead of moving on from a game, you keep building up a game. And Rare has that with Sea of Thieves. Bethesda has that with Fallout 76. It's just that instead of it being a separate title, it's expansions or battle passes or shit that you buy. But I think the last thing I want to say is a lot of people are saying, oh yeah, Activision Blizzard stuff, right? I'm going to say it flat out. If they don't address something about Activision Blizzard, people will be mad. Like, they said that we'd start hearing about stuff in the new year, and we've been waiting for this to close for 2 years. They're going to have a shitstorm if they don't address something about Call of Duty or stuff coming to Game Pass, right? I fully expect that even if my Power World prediction is wrong, that there will be something that you can play after the event, maybe a day or two, but there'll be something. Activision Blizzard. We will also probably see the Vessel of Hatred expansion for Diablo 4. Because that's supposed to come out next summer or fall. Or this summer or fall, sorry. I'm not in the 2024 mindset yet. Because Diablo is supposed to get an expansion this year. Mephisto themed.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of Xbox stuff happening this year. Like, there's a lot of releases. And yeah, the event's going to be focused totally on 2024. I think it's actually going to be primarily focused on the first half.
Mm-hmm. Well, that would make sense.
But it's going to be 2024.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would make sense to, again, bring it in the new year and just kind of laying out the kind of framework for at least, the first 4 months, 5 months, something like that. Yeah, that'd be nice. All right, guys. I mean, I think we've covered all that we really can without any more details regarding this rumored direct. It seems like it's going to be a thing. But yeah, just keep your hopes in check, and we'll see in the coming days what happens. Either way, yeah, looking forward. Gotta love these directs that they do. I know I'm excited. All right, guys in chat, everybody tuning in. Hey, it's great to have you here. Smash that like button and share out the show if you haven't done so already. Awesome conversations going on. Okay, guys, I think we'll move on to our last bit of news. And, we've been... there's been like a bit of an interesting rumor going around that's been causing, well, a bit of a stir, specifically in the Xbox spaces. The rumors insists that an acclaimed Xbox title will be making its way to competing platforms. Coming from the Nate the Hate podcast, not so much naming the title, the game itself, but saying that it was in the Game of the Year conversations. Now, that only leaves so many options, obviously. Dots, I'll kick this off with you. What do you make of this? Do you think Xbox would bring one of their, assuming, like one of their more highly thought of titles over the past year to competing platforms?
I think they would, on the sheer fact that Microsoft has really been pushing the gaming is for gamers, and they're really trying to spread out that, we are not trying to limit the player base to a specific console. I mean, obviously the Xbox console's great. They've been pushing the PC extremely hard, throwing a lot of their games even on Steam as well. But there's an Xbox app on your Switch, and they've mentioned before their desire to expand to Switch players, while so I think a game like Hi-Fi Rush, for example, I think that fits on the Switch pretty well. Like, that style of game is definitely like something that I could see picking up on a Switch console and playing on a train or on a bus or in an airplane or whatever. So no, I think this is completely within Microsoft Xbox's, like, in their playbook. I think that throwing something like a Hi-Fi Rush or any of their other acclaimed games onto other consoles, like that's right in their MO. That is something they want to do. They want to reach out to as many gamers as possible, even if it's not on the Xbox console, and make add to the community that way. And while it might get some lashback from people, I think that the MO is there. I think that it's a great plan, and they lose nothing out of it. Especially a Shadow Drop game, Hi-Fi Rush, critically acclaimed, amazing game, and they filled their budget for it after a year, and well over their budget for it after a year, and just saying, hey, let's throw this on the Switch. That's just icing on top of the cake that already had icing on it. So I think it's well within their plans, and I think it's a great idea to keep on putting games like that onto other consoles. Let the PlayStation players have it. Let the Switch players have it. People are gonna bellyache about Xbox and Microsoft all they want, but when they're putting out great games and great content and people are playing it regardless of console, that's a win for Team Green. So
all right, yeah, just in case you guys don't know, like, some more insiders have come out suggesting that it is Hi-Fi Rush is the supposed acclaimed game, and that the leaked platform would be the Switch. So not PlayStation, but the Switch. Yeah.
Jez took it a little further, actually.
Oh, is that right?
Jez said that from a very trusted source of his, that it was in his article on the matter, from a very trusted source of his, that they're investigating bringing their back catalog to other platforms.
Back catalog is...
That is all that he had, their back catalog.
I mean, that suggests a lot.
It does.
Wow.
That they're investigating at least portions of their back catalog, I should say, not the entire thing, but portions of it to release on other platforms.
Huh. That would be interesting. Wow.
He wrote a rather scathing both article and series of tweets.
Okay, I'll admit I haven't seen those per se, but I can just imagine. I mean, there must be some, like a little bit of confusion there. So,
and like this comes back to like, why does everyone question why Blade is going on all the platforms? Well, it's because shit like this, gets, rumored, and it's credible because of their history with Ori and things like that.
I suppose so. I mean, again, this is just a rumor in itself, but at the same time, Jez does have his sources, right?
Hey,
so,
just kind of like with Ori, but we've heard it out of Thomas Muller personally, Invader, that it was actually the developer that wanted to put it on, Nintendo.
Sure, but Microsoft did it. Because we have a direct tweet from their social media account that says it is Microsoft's explicit decision whether or not it gets put places, when they were asking if it would come to PlayStation.
But Microsoft isn't a company full of assholes that just basically say, no, we own you. They actually allowed the developer to actually do what their IP that they wanted to. We see right now ruling with an iron fist when it comes to Bungie, and I'm just curious on how much autonomy that they're going to have left. But Xbox
They also did with
over
At
here
Dusk
has-
Falls recently too, Microsoft.
I'm just saying, Xbox seems to be very flexible and very respectful to the developers that go out of their way to craft them games, and they don't treat them like third world property.
Yeah, that's actually, you do have a point there, Crusader, though, because we did see that, what was it, like a Korean rating or something for As Dusk Falls?
No, it was announced. It was announced at the Game Awards.
It was? I
It's
can't
coming
even,
to PlayStation. Yeah.
I can't even remember, to be honest. It was?
100. It wasn't a trailer for it. The person who the developers of the game were presenters. They were presenting the award they won last year, and they announced it while they were presenting.
I totally forgot about. Oh wow!
It was
It's
just
a
it was
good game, by the
fantastic.
way. If you guys
And I
haven't
believe it's
played
also getting a physical edition on PlayStation, and it didn't get one.
Yeah, I played it.
I remember PlayStation fans bragging, and I'm like, isn't this the same game you guys were relentlessly mocking in
Yeah.
2022? But okay.
It's silliness.
Yeah.
But this is why people question Xbox and not PlayStation, because this
Yeah, I see your
happens with
point.
Xbox, right?
Yeah, I see your point.
It's not. That's why I don't like the whole would they write articles about this with PlayStation? It's like, well, with PlayStation, if they're gonna do it, they'll announce it almost immediately, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with them now though, it's everything is when is it coming to PC? They have the same kind of thing, right? But it's always when's this game gonna launch on PC? When's this game gonna launch on PC now for them?
Yeah.
God of War, when's it gonna launch on PC? We know it will. First one's there.
Well, again, PC's a different kettle of fish in comparison to competing.
Right. It is. It totally is.
That being said, though, I mean, they're all kind of interested in the same plan, except for maybe Nintendo, where again, expanding, it's more of an ecosystem thing in comparison to just being console, that's it, PC, that's it. It just seems to be more about Game Pass and ecosystem, really.
Centurion, you agree with me that the next MMO from ZeniMac Online is going to be multi-platform?
I think so, but that's just because it has to do with how MMOs work, and it comes to a financial situation. It's not a fanboy thing.
Yep, and so that's why they're going to get these questions, right? Because Xbox is making these moves. And I don't think that that's necessarily an awful thing, right? It's just that Microsoft does need to message 100% better what is going to happen with games, so that people are clear as to why, do I need to get this on my Xbox or should I wait? Right? I think that's a fair thing for us to say to Xbox.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that. I mean, I did say I saw quite a few Xbox guys, the more high profile ones, put out some pretty long and interesting statements with regards to this rumor swirling. And
Phil Brills was great.
Yeah, I saw his. His was actually very well thought out. And again, it has to do with messaging, like you said, Crusader. It all comes down to that. Because I guess it just kind of catches again the Xbox fans by surprise, I should say. I mean, maybe not the one so much more in the know, but at the same time, I mean, we support these games, and we thought that exclusive means exclusive, correct? So yeah, so it's just very interesting on that front. Grimes, I mean, why don't you chime in here? What are your thoughts on the latest rumor about, again, let's say Hi-Fi Rush going multi-platform?
Okay, so I'm gonna get some hate here, but so what if Microsoft starts releasing games on Nintendo first?
Oh, thank God, I'm not the only freaking
I-
person that actually
agree.
has no freaking feelings in the situation.
I agree 95% with that statement. There's 5%. I mean, I'll chime in that 5%, but 95% of me 100% with you.
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
mean,
saying so because I don't want Grimes to feel alone. He's gonna get hate. I mean,
Yeah, no,
I'm smacking.
no.
I'm giving you a smack on the metaphorical
Yeah.
back right now, dude. Thank you for saying it.
I mean, everyone, and with me, you guys, I've said it multiple times on this that I don't care if the game is
Yeah.
exclusive or not. Like,
it's not a big deal at all. It's a good move, like you guys have mentioned before. And I've talked about this, but when talking about my favorite game of 2023, Forza Motorsport, Microsoft wants your average gamer playing their games. I know plenty of people that play on Switch that wouldn't consider themselves gamers, but yeah, but they love playing on the Switch. Then there's a Microsoft mobile store. They're gonna attract even more users that way. But either way, Hi-Fi Rush, Pentiment, Psychonauts 2 are great games that would be perfect for the Switch. For Psychonauts 2, I don't know.
it's already on
if
PlayStation.
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna work on the Switch One, but I don't know if it can handle it. But it will 100% would be good for the Switch too. I know I've mentioned how much I love Tim Schafer. Great mind. I mean, he's been there since like Monkey Island back in the day. And he was my, I mean, like, I love Hi-Fi Rush. I love Psychonauts 2. Psychonauts 2 was my 2021 Game of the Year, and would love more people to get their hands on. You guys did say that Windows isn't really the same competition as releasing your games on different platforms, but I disagree. It is very similar to Sony's strategy of releasing games to Windows. They don't release.
So that's the whole reason why that they're also releasing on PC, because it doesn't directly compete with the console. I think that's what we were trying to say, is that the PC market isn't, the overlap between them and consoles isn't as high.
But no, I mean you're 100% right. Yeah, you're right. But just like Sony doesn't release on day one, I would imagine Microsoft will do the same. They're not gonna release. They're gonna release first on Xbox and Windows, and then several months later, or maybe a year later, that's when all those games would be hitting other platforms. So it's not gonna affect any of us. We're gonna get the games first. Also, like Microsoft and Nintendo have a really good thing going on right now. So why not just continue that partnership by releasing some of those games? And who knows, maybe down the line, Nintendo could be nice to Microsoft with some of their properties. You never know what regulators are gonna force upon companies like Microsoft, Nintendo, and PlayStation. We've talked about this before, but maybe they'll force an open market, and we don't even know if in 8-10 years time we're gonna have consoles. It could be just a bunch of stores on devices. Here's another angle, and my final thought about this. If you're looking into acquiring more studios and publisher in the near future, what's one way to appease regulators? You release all your content on more platforms, and we know Microsoft isn't down. So that's one reason why they could be doing it. Obviously, money as well. But yeah, that could easily appease regulators. Next time, if the FTC or CMA are trying to block it, Microsoft could say, well, our games are releasing on every platform, so why are you trying to block us? But I don't know what you guys think, but I think that could be one reason why they could be doing it.
That's fair. I hadn't actually considered that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're just looking, and they want to I think the higher ups at Microsoft outside of the Xbox division want to start maximizing how much their software nets them, because Microsoft notoriously doesn't really lock anything down.
Yeah.
Like Office is everywhere. Why? Because they make the best damn word processing suite that exists, and so they sell it on everything.
Right.
Yeah.
I think they want that same concept. The executives at Microsoft want that same concept for developing in games. I do think that because they don't have the market share with the hardware yet, that is a very risky move to make, even with minor stuff. Because they don't have as big a portfolio of existing released content as Nintendo and PlayStation do. They just don't. Right? I think that in the FTC court docs, it was like 10-1 exclusive content on the PlayStation to the Xbox, right? And so that's where I'm kind of like, that's where the 5% of me is like, okay, like I don't really care that you're going to sell this on Nintendo, but I need assurances that that this isn't going to backfire and it's not going to kill your line. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Or, last thing I'll mention, Jazz Corden mentioned this, I think, last week. But what if Microsoft just puts the first game on every other platform, and then the sequel, it's an Xbox exclusive? I know it's not gonna happen, but that's something he mentioned.
That is interesting.
I just
yeah.
With Hi-Fi, I don't think that's a strong enough case. And with Halo, you're going too far in the opposite direction. You'd be too risky with like a horror franchise. Yeah. So like, what games can they really do that with?
Bethesda and Activision.
Well, so like Bethesda's games, it would have to be a brand new IP because all the other IPs are already there. Same with Activision.
Yeah.
So like, that's where it's like there's nothing in their back catalog that, at least in my opinion, that maybe they could do it with the Fable games. Like maybe, right? But I would hope that if they're porting those to other platforms, get upgraded on Xbox too at the same time.
That would
because
be
that
nice.
would kind of suck.
Yeah.
But it's just like I don't know. Like they could technically do that with Ori. But again, like even though Ori and Hi-Fi are such small games, they are so unique and so good that once you have a larger stable of killer first-party exclusive, like large AAA games that the casuals are coming in for, you can start to attract the more enfranchised that aren't on your system too, with some of those like quote, we call them hidden gems like a lot, and I hate that term, but like Ori and Hi-Fi and I'll even say the game Crytek made that was a launch title for the Xbox One.
Rise.
Those kind of hidden gems that like are on the platform but aren't hugely spoken about by the masses. Like you use those to attract a certain subset of people too. And that's where I'm just like, is it going to be a risk for their hardware and store to do this, which would then directly impact me? And that's why I say there's 5% of me that's a little concerned with this. If that makes any sense.
Right. Yeah, no, it makes sense. Let's get some more thoughts here. Shockley, buddy, I mean, I would love to know your thoughts. Again, seeing one of the more acclaimed titles from the year, like Hi-Fi Rush, going to, let's say, the Switch. I don't know. Do you see this rumor to be likely true, or do you just kind of pan it as, not really?
Now, was the rumor exactly Hi-Fi Rush, or?
Originally it wasn't. Now it looks like yeah.
No, okay.
Because
yeah.
Nate the Hate didn't want to say the name of the game.
Right.
And then a couple other people chimed in, and people were like, "It's probably Hi-Fi Rush," and the guy was like, "Yeah, it probably is Hi-Fi Rush." Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah,
So.
that would probably make sense. I could see it going to like the Switch, but I wouldn't think they'd put it on the PS5. I think especially after what went down this past summer. I think they didn't even put Ori on there after they did the Switch. I think Cuphead only because it wasn't technically first party, and they kind of let them do what they wanted to do with their IP. But yeah, I could see more of that kind of ilk of like Ori, obviously stuff that can run on the Switch. So it's going to be probably limited to that. You know, I'm sure they could put Pentiment or some other games along those lines. It would be interesting if they got Sea of Thieves on there. I feel like that would be like a big one. If that would run, sure it would, but that seems like a perfect game for that. I mean, it already kind of blew up on like PC, and it has kind of like a pretty big following now since their early days. But yeah, that seems like a game that would fit that perfectly. There's plenty of, I mean, I've enjoyed my time with it. Few times I've kind of messed around. I've always said it's better when you're playing with people from the UK because it kind of just fits the whole like theme. It was like, oh, this feels like a way better game when you play from people with British accents. Just kind of goes with the whole rest of the theme, enhances it. So I do recommend that. But yeah, I could see that as well going there. I wonder if they'd ever put like a rare replay on there. Like that would blow up. But I think that would be almost like too big of a like thing to let Nintendo have without something in return. Hi-Fi Rush is one thing, but yeah, if they let the whole rare replay go over there, that would be I think you'd have to have like a trade-off of like, hey, cool, we'll give you those games, but you have to give us some N64 gems or something to kind of cross over or something. I don't think that one would ever happen, but that would be interesting. So but yeah, I don't think it's going to be something like big or massive, obviously, because Switch is already limited in that sense. But yeah, we'll see. I'm sure a lot of these games kind of like Hi-Fi Rush, and as we go along with the whatever the Switch Pro or Switch 2 is, I'm sure that will, when they're developing even more games, they'll keep kind of using this as another platform, since it's not, they are kind of a direct competitor, but not, in a sense, just because it's not competing. Right? Like Xbox already has a ton of exclusives just from third parties that the Switch will never touch. They'll never touch, probably Resident Evil 4 remake or, stuff like that. So it's not eating a lot of their big third parties. It's more them with Sony, like, hey, you want to play Elden Ring? Well, guess where you're not playing, that they're not competing for some of those third-party platform dollars with Switch. So, but yeah, it'd be cool if they put Hi-Fi Rush. Definitely needs to get more praise, but I feel like they should let it simmer. Let it simmer a little bit longer. I think 1 year is not maybe enough exclusive, to exclusive standpoint. Obviously, Ori, I think. Ori 1 had been a while, but I think that was just because the first game, so obviously it was, and that was kind of in between the whole time when they were deciding to do the whole Game Pass thing. Was Ori 2 or Will o' the Wisp? Did that go to the Switch like within a year, or just at a year? I don't know if it went that soon, but
2 at the most, I'd say.
Okay, but yeah, feel like they should let it simmer a little bit longer, but yeah, otherwise, yeah.
So it released in March 11th of 2020, and hit the Switch in September of 2020.
Oh, interesting.
And then the Xbox Series X version came out in November of 2020, which that's not them prioritizing the Switch over the Xbox. It's literally the day the Xbox Series X launched.
Yeah, that's a little soon, but you know.
And again, I think it's because they put the first one on there and everyone expected the second one, so they just did the second one. It's 6 months.
All right. Yeah, that turnaround is interesting. Let's see. I want to get to some more voices here. General MLD, I'd love to know your thoughts on this. Again, nothing is confirmed here, guys, but there is evidence that something could be possibly happening. But yeah, MLD, please give your thoughts.
Okay, well, assuming it is Hi-Fi Rush on the Switch, I have no problem with that whatsoever. Xbox and Nintendo, they're buddy. You know, Banjo on Smash, GoldenEye went there. Like the writing's on the wall. They're being friendly with each other. And as an Xbox fan here, in case anybody wasn't paying attention, the rivalry is Xbox and PlayStation, not Xbox and Nintendo. They can put whatever they want on Nintendo. I don't care, because there's no beef. I don't care. But because again, like it was mentioned before, third parties, the majority of games on Xbox just aren't capable running on the Switch. So there's that. But I've established that there's a clear hierarchy. A lot of gamers see this, but many also don't. Small games go multiplat eventually. So Ori, As Dusk Falls. Single player games are exclusive, like the bigger ones, like the AA, AAA, like Starfield, Avowed, Hellblade 2, etc. The large games and the big communities are mandatory multiplat. So COD, Minecraft, any MMO. So if that includes the new ZeniMax game, if that's multiplat also on PlayStation, I get it, because hey, that's how MMOs work. You need people day one. I get it. So Hi-Fi fits the bill as the first category. It's more of a smaller title. Like the art style looks great, but it's also not budget intensive. So they could, a smaller team could make a game like Hi-Fi Rush. And it looks like, the Switch could run it to a degree. I mean, if the Switch can run Doom Eternal somehow, then I think Hi-Fi is also a good candidate. So
tech is magic.
Yeah, right. It looks terrible up close, but it's on it. So I feel like Hi-Fi Rush would look much more authentic if you put that Xbox version beside a Switch version because of the stylized graphics now. So again, I'm fine with this. But I feel like there is a justification to be upset or frustrated if it were to go to PlayStation. And I'll tell you why. Because I get Xbox strategy, Xbox ecosystem. I've been behind this since the very beginning. You want Xbox to succeed in a outside the box kind of way, you go where you can. I get it. But Phil Spencer has also said quotes where you do need some exclusive content, at least console exclusive content, to drive people to your platform. Because it's the exclusives draw you in, and then you subscribe to Game Pass, you buy more third-party games and the like. Smaller games like Ori or Hi-Fi Rush, it doesn't really, those aren't really system sellers. I mean, they're great games. I played both of those games. But if they went multiplat, it's not really the end of the world. It's not like, say, Avowed going multiplat day one, Because again, smaller budget, smaller games, smaller teams. So you don't want to give off the impression that PlayStation gamers are treated the exact same as, the loyal Xbox gamers that have been with you through the dark years of the Xbox One or whatever like that, right? You need to give, like if Sony and Nintendo, they give their fans, their devoted fans, the first class treatment. They have their own first party exclusives. Xbox doesn't want to send mixed signals. They don't want to be the sole brand that treats everybody on the same field. I mean, in a sense, they are doing that, yes. But again, you do need some exclusive content that rewards your own personal customers first. So Xbox, they need to be careful to read the room. Now, on that note, that I never heard this rumor until you guys mentioned it. How the back catalog or some of it might go multiplat?
Yeah, Jez, that was from today. Jez wrote an article that from a trusted source that they're looking at porting some of their back catalog to more platforms.
Now, if that's like 360 games on the Switch, again, hey, no problem. If you can get like 100,000 units sold on the Switch, for Fable 2 or whatever, hey, why not? Okay, these are games that have been long past their prime. These games aren't selling millions of copies in 2024. I get it, but then again, Xbox and PlayStation, that's where the main competition's at. I don't like the idea of, say, Gears of War 1 or the Fable trilogy going to PlayStation, but we don't see games like Uncharted 1 or, anything in return. It would look very one-sided, and it shows, it wouldn't be a good look. So I recommend Xbox picks and chooses. Again, Nintendo's is the safe bet. Keep feeding them content. You get sales in return. Nintendo is more willing to work with you in the future. That's fine. But if you're going to put things on PlayStation, it better be a big game like Call of Duty or Minecraft or an MMO. Otherwise, it just looks like you're treating their gamers with the exact same priority as your own. And that's not a good look. So they better be careful.
All right. Well said there, General MLD. Let's see now. Centurion, I'm not sure if you've had a chance to say anything. Again, what?
I haven't pissed off anybody yet, so I haven't said anything.
All right, pal. Please
Your silence angers me.
Please round out the crew with your thoughts on the topic. Again, the rumor here that one of these games from the past year, possibly Hi-Fi Rush, will be making its way to the Switch.
Okay, so I'm not a fanboy. I only play one on YouTube every now and then, and it's actually a gag. And that is where, let me at least put, and I'm not trying to label anybody. I am just more likely just trying to tell my own story here. So, at the job I'm at right now, I've worked for him for 17 years. I have a huge amount of responsibility. And at the beginning of the pandemic, they told me that they needed me to do something to help keep the business alive because a good portion of their business was crippled because a lot of factories got shut down during that time. Before I did what I did, they were very uber competitive. They didn't want to sell products to other competitors because why do you want to help your competition succeed? I totally understand that argument because I happen to be a huge proponent of wrestling. I loved watching the Monday Night Wars and watching Vince McMahon want to crush WCW and squeeze the life out of his competition, as he put it. It was fun to watch. But there's a point where you get so damn big that you have to start embracing different ways of creating revenue. And that's where now in my job, I actually have our competitors coming to me to buy stuff because we've gotten so damn big that I actually have a very large share of market buying power, and I actually have products that are extremely hard to find right now because my distributors would rather sell to me because I'm a guaranteed sell versus these guys that are very iffy. And so therefore, over the years, I have gotten it to where the people I work for are very comfortable with their competitors walking through the door, wanting to strike a deal to buy stuff because I'm like, hey, the more we buy, the easier it is for us to get a hold of stuff and the better deal we get. The whole reason why I'm bringing this up is because, let's just look at, the writing on the wall. PlayStation, exclusives matter over here. It's our little sacred garden. They have already shown signs of extreme financial strife because of the ballooning budgets for some of these very well done games. But if we look at some of the budget costs for some of these games, they're asininely expensive. And we've seen the numbers. Everybody makes jokes that nobody buys games on Xbox. Well, guess what? Nobody buys games on PlayStation either, apparently, because some of these games have not hit sales goals. It's extremely hard for them to recover revenue in a very short amount of time because of the budgets got too high. That's why PlayStation is trying new things with games as a service, and they're hiking the prices on their games and all this other stuff because they're trying to find ways of creating revenue to stop this ballooning issue. But that's where Xbox has figured out how to stop this ballooning issue. And it's the one exclusive that everybody discounts that PlayStation is willing to not do, and that's Game Pass, putting games day and date into a service. As a matter of fact, I think, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Crusader, didn't the article say that Xbox put like $9,000 worth of games into Game Pass in 2023 alone?
I thought it was 20,000.
Sorry, 20. Well, shit. At least I was trying to like be conservative there.
I thought it was 20,000, but 9,000.
But let's look at that. But either way, 9,000, 20,000. Hey, guess what? I don't know about you guys, but I sure as hell don't got $9,000 to spend on video games. But at any rate, where I'm going with this is Game Pass is a machine.
Oh, it was 9,000. You're right.
Oh, was
right.
Okay.
You're
so.
Right.
Game Pass is a machine. It's a very hungry monster. Everybody wants to say that it's unsustainable. It's actually very sustainable, especially if you change the direction of about how you are wanting to go about creating revenue. And that's one thing, like, yeah, so what? Hi-Fi Rush goes on to Nintendo. We got to play that for $15. Where Nintendo, it ain't going into some subscription service. That game is going to be easily anywhere from $40 to $60.
It'd be 30. That's what it launched at on Steam.
Okay, so there you go, $30. But that's where, no matter where these games end up, there's going to be a much larger price tag behind that game than what we all paid. And that's where I stand by. So what if these games end up going to other platforms? I am in agreement with General MLD. It does not mean every game, because there is games out there that the Switch cannot play. We know that Xbox does not get along with PlayStation as everybody wants them to. I don't really see them putting stuff on PlayStation, but I do see them being very flexible because they're wanting to kind of work around PlayStation and encroach on them. They want PlayStation to feel their damn presence. That's for sure. And at any rate, I don't care where these games end up. I don't care who's playing them, because at the end of the day, all that revenue is going to go back to strengthen the machine, the monster, the power of Game Pass, and the fact that technically Xbox is still the most pro-consumer, affordable gaming console ecosystem on the market. And that they actually need to find ways of creating revenue without treating their actual customers like a walking ATM like PlayStation does. They are willing to outsource those games to other platforms and let the ATMs exist over there for them to bring in more revenue to benefit me as an Xbox gamer. And I don't have to worry about things like ballooning budgets for game development and all this other stuff, because Xbox has a way of creating other sources of revenue without having to go down these roads of like the Sacred Garden and exclusive this and exclusive that, that basically creates a little bit of issues, because as we could see now, when you try to hold on to that ideal for too long, eventually it's going to create a situation that we're starting to see unfold with PlayStation. And that's why I have no problem with Xbox creating better sources of revenue for themselves, because it basically keeps them out of my own damn pocket.
Yeah, truth. Yeah, well said there, Centurion. Guys, anything else to add to this before we start heading out here? Yes, no? All right. Well, I mean, again, guys, it's still just a rumor, although there does seem to be some teeth to this. I'm assuming we will hear very soon whether or not this is real. But again, I mean, it does make you wonder, again, what else could possibly happen. But again, time will tell, right? Time will tell. Okay, guys, I think that about does it for this one. And wow, lots and lots of stuff that we went over tonight, from Insomniac's hacks and leak, a new Xbox developer direct seemingly in the works, and rumors of an Xbox game going to other consoles. Now, I hope everyone tuning in enjoyed the chat tonight, and if you did, then please consider dropping a like, sharing out the show, and of course subbing over to the channel, as we would love to have you stay here. Now moving over to the panel outros, starting out with Grimes. Grimes buddy, hey, I thought you had a really awesome show tonight. Where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Fake Mayhem OG. And loved everyone's opinions on all the topics we discussed today.
All right. Next up, Eric Shockley. Hey, bud, again, great seeing you here. And again, I thought you had some really, really great takes. Where can everybody find you at?
Yeah, as always, you can find me at Shock Nero on Twitter, Easy Shock on Xbox Live. But yeah, good topics today. Good to be back after the holiday break, and but enjoy the night.
Indeed. Moving on over to General MLD. General, hey, awesome stuff tonight. Where can everybody find you at?
Yeah, you guys can find me at MLD Ghost on X, Twitter, whatever. It was great to be back. Happy New Year to everybody, and back to the normal. And always fun chatting with you guys.
Yeah, it's always fun, chatting games, news, rumors, all that fun stuff, right? All that fun stuff. Over on to the Crusader. Crusader, hey, I thought you had a really wonderful show as well. Where can all these wonderful people tuning in find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Crusader3456 on most social media. Yeah, and you'll see me doing coverage of the show that we are going to hopefully get soon. I will try to make sure everyone is aware as soon as. Look at Xbox's socials at 9 o'clock EST every day. Sorry, Centurion, you'll be asleep.
Maybe.
What about me being asleep? What?
Oh, I said look at it. Look up for Xbox's socials for the announcement, the direct. It'll be at like 9 EST because that's when they announce things at like 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So you'd be asleep.
7 o'clock, but I don't get it, man. For some reason, they happen at like 4 or 5 a.m. for me.
Well, because 9 EST would be
right now.
That'd
be 7.
Hey.
It's only a 2-hour difference right now for me.
Oh, right, because you don't have.
That's right, yeah.
I do not participate in this mythic shenanigan called daylight savings time.
Lol.
I have absolutely no damn problem going outside during the night.
You are one funny fella, my friend. One funny fella. Moving on over to the Dots. Dots RTS. Mr. RTS, great having you tonight. And again, some really well said statements and opinions. Where can everybody find you?
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Happy, we're finally in our 2024. Hopefully everyone is fixing their 3s into 4s on their, when they're writing it on a piece of paper. I haven't had to do that yet, luckily. But no, I'm here's to Sunday and here's to many more. You can find me on Dots RTS on Twitter and Xbox and all the things. So yeah, no, happy to be here. I'm so glad we're getting back into this. It's gonna be a good year.
I sure hope so. But hey, again, I'm excited. I got the energy for it. Really looking forward to this year. Next up, Centurion. Cent, hey, wonderful show from you as well. Where can all these fine people find you at?
For those, yeah, it was a great show tonight. And for those interested in finding me and my shenanigans, please find me over at Centurion1307, of course, on YouTube. But you can also find me on Xbox and Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it at that time, at Centurion1307 as well. And you can also find me right here every Sunday night with this great group of gentlemen.
All right, and to round out the panel, you guys can find my content on YouTube at Invader Gaming. I've been working on some achievement guides, I got a review going, and a few other things. Been dabbling in card pack openings, which is a lot of fun, by the way, and a few other things. But yeah, guys, great show and awesome talk to the start of the new year, and hey, we'll catch you here on the next one. Later. I think next week will be pretty good.